and we'll just go through them, and then you can give me as much information as you can. Obviously, if you can't, then it's, I get it, right? But
can't spoil too much. But
yeah,
we'll see what I can do.
Any idea of what kind of when players could see the next roadmap, or no
Yes.
Until yet?
Ideally before the end of 2022.
So the other thing was Yaz's jar.
We will probably always be a few months behind Korea. I would say maybe between 3 and 6, just because we have to, get the build, and they have to release the build, and we have to get it, and we have to adjust it and localize it and everything.
And I know you hear this all the time, remove peons, okay? I know, and I know that's not a decision, but I think on like the lower items, like these purple items that make no sense to have peons on them, absolutely not. Like, all right, welcome back, you guys, to another podcast thing here on this channel. It's been a while since I've done one of these on this channel. I know a lot of you guys have been wanting me to do one, but today I have a very special one. Today I'm joined by Miss Roxx, who's the CM for Lost Ark in the West. A lot of you guys know who Roxx is, and if you don't know, she's the one that you probably go to the forums and write lots of messages to. She's the one that handles a lot of that and also other things for Lost Ark in general. I actually had the opportunity to meet Roxx when I went to Lost Ark TwitchCon, the Lost Ark booth. And we did some other stuff, got some food or something. It was really cool, and I had a great time doing that. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. She was nice enough to come on here. And first, chat, you want to say hi to YouTube? You want to give them a little wave, because the YouTube frogs, it's an opportunity to say hello to the YouTube frogs. Give them a little wave. Today we have a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Next year's stuff, what people are expecting, some of the things that are going on in the game today. We have this upcoming patch. A lot of different stuff, but I also want to give you an opportunity towards the end or at any point if you want to talk about anything else, or if you had any questions or just whatever. It's going to be a casual conversation. But I thought a good way to start would be for you to just introduce yourself, and I have some questions for you so people can get to know you better, because I thought this would be a good opportunity for that too.
No, for sure. Yeah, like Stoopzz said, you probably know me as Roxx. I'm still not a dude. A lot of people think I am. But no, I am probably the one you see a lot on the forums, hanging out in Discord, wherever. I've been on Lost Ark as a project since before launch now. I can't really go back much farther than that. I am the product community manager for the game. I also do a ton of internal stuff. Just in terms of sitting in lots of fun meetings and, working with Smilegate and sharing your feedback. I don't know, whatever else I do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That's probably the broadest rundown. I'm always so awkward at introducing myself.
Yeah, it's always awkward. It's okay. It's always awkward. I did have some questions for you though that maybe will help it make it a little bit easier.
All right.
Just the first question I had for you was just kind of how you got into doing CM related work, because I actually, when I was going through school, I always looked at that role as something that maybe I would want to do. But then I realized I'm a little too crazy for that. Maybe I wouldn't be the best at it, but I'm curious how you got into CM related work.
Yeah. So I was super lucky when I was in school as well. Okay, you're getting my Roxx lore. I remember I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I was like, well, somebody's got to be involved in video games. That's what I kind of really care about. My mom was like, why don't you go work for Google? And I was like, nah, video games.
My mom wanted me to be a doctor. She was telling me to do some doctor work, yeah.
She's like, that's basically the same, and I'm like, no. But I remember going to this panel, and it was a bunch of college students who had been interning in the games industry, and I was like, they're all doing that. I can do that somehow. So I got really lucky. I landed a games internship. I was originally working under a PR manager for that company. And at that time, that company kind of had a perfect storm, and they were like, hey, we need help, and you're doing a good job. You want to work here? And they were like, you want to do PR? You want to do community? What do you want to do? And I was mostly doing PR at the time, a little bit of working with creators, and I had done some community stuff, and I was like, hey, I think this is what interests me. And they were like, okay, here you go. Which, not literally just handed to me. I had been there for about a year at that point. So I started working in community on MMOs, and then it really just stuck. I worked at an indie company after that, and that's how I ended up at Amazon following that. So I'm back in the MMORPG space, which is kind of nice because that's what I started kind of working on when I first started my career as a CM. So I've been doing this for like, I don't know, maybe 7 years now, maybe a little bit longer. But that sounds right.
Yeah. So you were working at an indie company, you said, and then how did you get into working for Amazon for Lost Ark exactly?
I'm gonna call someone out here. I was actually not looking for a new job, but one of my coworkers from my first job is at Amazon. He is the creator relations lead. So Stoopzz, you may know Greg.
Yeah, I met him. He's cool.
Yeah, so I worked with him at my first job when I was a little baby intern. He used to be a community manager as well. We worked really closely together. And he actually posted the job for Lost Ark, and I wasn't really looking. But I was like, hey, I'm kind of curious about this. Like, how have you been? And he was like, oh, you're applying for this. And I don't think I've ever admitted this publicly before. I didn't know what the game was going to be. It was unannounced at the time I applied. I just knew it was an MMO, and I was like, I've worked on those before. That was super fun. I wasn't looking for a new job. So I made it through to the interview process, and I was like, hey, man, I really appreciate you, like, putting in a good word for me. Like, I don't think I think I'm gonna drop out. Like, I like my job. Like, I really appreciate it. And he was like, no. And I was like, what? He was like, no. Like, just do it. Like, it'll be a good experience. You never know. And I remember I was like, okay. So I did not prepare. And again, I have never publicly admitted. My boss already knows. But I was not as prepared as I maybe could have been. And I was like, all right, I'll just do it. And I had my first interview with someone I still work with that morning. And I was like, oh no, I want this job.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad I was peer pressured into
It's weird how things work
doing
out
that.
like that, though, right? In
No,
life,
it
it's always like
was.
that.
Yeah. It was really funny. Like I said, I was like in a place where I was pretty happy, and I was like, oh, this is cool too. So shout out to Greg for making me do that. He was just like, no, you should do it anyway. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, no.
Yeah, it's
But
interesting. I actually did like a video just the other day about like talking about my journey a little bit, so I got to reflect on that a little bit, and it's interesting to hear you talk about how you weren't really interested in the role at the start, and then you end up liking it a
yeah,
lot, and end up being for you, or at least this
for
position,
sure.
And the same thing. I've been there before in my own life where I didn't think I'd be doing this at all. It was just a hobby, I guess, and then now I'm here. So it's just weird, interesting to
Yeah,
hear.
no, I definitely, and I mean, I didn't know uh Lost Ark hadn't been announced yet, so I didn't know, and then they kind of like let me into it, and the trailer came out right around when I was interviewing, like the very first reveal trailer, and I was like, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
and here I still am, so I guess it worked out.
I'm actually interested to hear it because I feel like it's a pretty difficult role. I mean, I know you don't want to like complain about your job because that's
No,
not,
no, no.
but
I mean, you can be real. I
I
don't mind.
think it's a pretty hard role, okay? Because so I'll give you. I have a couple questions here.
Yeah,
I guess we'll start with the other one, which would be the challenges that you might encounter at your role. Because whenever something happens in the game, right? I don't even work on the game, and these people be coming in my chat getting crazy, man. Like they're wild. They're getting mad at me. That I'll get called like a shill or something. They're getting all mad, and I'm like, no, but I'm not even working on the game. I'm just sitting here playing the damn game, right? But
yeah.
these people get really riled up about it, which I understand though. You invest a lot of your time into
We
the
call
game.
them,
It's important to
yeah,
you, and
we call them passionate.
yeah,
I get
passionate.
it.
Sometimes too passionate, but passionate. So what are some of the challenges, I guess, that you face working as a CM, and specifically for Lost Ark, right? Because I think your role as a CM for Lost Ark is harder than other games because you see all these things in another version of the game. So then now you're not only are you dealt with like, hey, like fix these things, or what about these changes that need to happen, but then you're also being asked about when are we getting this, right? Because in other
Yeah,
games, it's like they don't really have that because it's not out, but they get to look at something else and then ask you when are we getting X, Y, or Z before it's even released over here.
I'm laughing because like you kind of answered the question for me already.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's definitely. So I think there's a couple things. And like I will openly admit this, like kind of what you said, not only just having multiple different versions across the world. I am, I don't know exactly when it will happen. We're looking in the future. however long it takes. I'm very much eager to get to the point where we are kind of at parity or very close, just because I think that challenge will just go away. But yeah, for sure, it's very strange to be working on a game not only where things come out in other regions and then we're kind of, learning about them with everyone and being like, okay, yeah, when do we get that? It's interesting. This game was also out obviously before we launched it this year, long before in other regions. And, folks like you have been and other creators have been playing it for so long where we're like I said, I didn't know what Lost Ark was before, I got hired for this job. So having that knowledge gap is something like I think a lot of us are really ready to acknowledge like there's just certain things like I'm never going to know what happened on the Korea server in 2020, until somebody tells me, or
Yeah.
like sometimes I can't remember what it was, but we had an issue and I really can't remember what it was, but after launch and something something was buggy, something was off. I don't even remember what game pillar was affected, but someone was like, "Hey, this happened in Korea like a year ago." It was like the exact same thing, or however long ago it was the exact same thing. So like they were seeing like this kind of issue again, where for us it was like new. Sometimes that stuff's super helpful because it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like we can, there's always more to learn and learn from that history and stuff. But like I can't go back to 2019 and like
Yeah.
educate myself as it's going on.
Yeah, of course.
So that's been super challenging. I think with any global gamer company as well, just, our development team is Smilegate in Korea too. So there's always a bit of a time zone gap
Yeah.
as well when it comes to things. I would say that's like a much smaller challenge than some of the, weirdnesses of the game. And like you said, things launching in Korea, things having been out in Korea is definitely
Yeah.
a real challenge. But there, there's a couple different things. And I have always worked also on in-house, like I've always worked in-house with developers on games. So like every time I've worked in games publishing, it had been like, oh, their desk is over there. Like I'm just gonna go ask
Yeah.
whoever,
Yeah.
where now it's like they're in Korea, let me like send this email and then we gotta wait until they wake up or whatever. So I mean that's just different. It's just part of what it is,
Yeah.
working with the developer elsewhere. But yeah, I would say those are probably the things that come kind of top of mind.
Yeah. I mean, another, I mean, I don't want to spend too long on this, but another thing that I think
Mhm.
it makes it difficult would be that just it's the version that we have is like a mixture of so many different, like there's just
Yeah.
things that we have that the other regions didn't have at that point in the game. So it's this weird like conglomerate version, which I think is ultimately in a lot of ways a better version, a more
Right.
polished version for some things, obviously. There's other issues, but the main thing is I would say a lot of the quality of life things that we get right away. So it just makes
Yeah.
it feel a little bit different than even when I first played it going through it on a different region, right? So I think that's pretty
Totally.
interesting.
Yeah, I think that's also accurate too, because a lot of times people are like, I don't understand how this game can have issues. It's already been out. But you're 100% right. It is a different version because although we knew, we didn't want to launch like, here's the whole thing all at once. We think it's very healthy for the game. I know there's a lot of feelings about content pacing and stuff, but it is, I strongly feel it's healthy in the long run, to have these updates, to not just be like, here's everything all at once, have fun, and then burn it out, keep the game updating, keep the game going. But we really have tried to prioritize like quality of life features wherever we can because we
Yeah.
do want to make sure it's that good experience. But like you said, part of that is also it being its own version and it's always going to be a little bit different. And then it can, yeah, definitely be a
Yeah.
challenge to figure out kind of where some of those differences or gaps exist.
No, it makes sense. Some of those things you touched on, we'll talk about also a little bit more in depth later. What are some of the things then that you like about working as a CM? Maybe it doesn't have to be specifically for Lost Ark, if you, but just things that you really enjoy about the CM role in general.
Yeah. Huh. You threw me off by saying not Lost Ark specific.
It could be Lost Ark specific. Go for it. It could be anything.
No, I was just so in the mindset. I
Yeah.
think in general though, the reason I kind of found myself in this place is because I really, I mean, I have played a lot of video games my whole life, obviously. I think most people in the games industry fall in that bracket. But just I really I genuinely like interacting with people, engaging with people. Like I like being able to have conversations with, people who are in a game, whether it's, helping or talking candidly. I really just enjoy that engagement kind of aspect for the most part. And I'm hoping we can do some more kind of just engagement style activities and whatnot. Um, that looks like a little bit different for every game. One of the things I've also really missed during COVID was like TwitchCon was really nice because like going to events and like actually meeting people. Like I had so many great
Dude, that was
conversations
fun,
at
dude. I had
TwitchCon.
I
Yeah.
had such a fun time there. I didn't think TwitchCon. I had never been before. Um, And I don't know if I would go, like, I definitely am gonna just get a hotel right there just so I could go.
Yeah.
But it was so fun, like seeing everybody, and then I got to meet a lot of people on the team, and you got to realize how cool a lot of those people are, and just seeing other people in the community. There was
Hmm.
some dude that had a little rattle because my chat always does this little ding dong thing, and this guy was in the little crowd doing the rattle, man. I was like, damn, that's
I
so
love that.
cool, you know. I actually I thought it was so cool, man. I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, so, being able to be a part of those moments and like working with players and meeting players and having those conversations is always like a highlight. Like I'm really hoping more events and stuff happen because I know it's been like a slow rollout of people getting back to those things. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was like one
The
of my
booth was
highlights of the
sick
year.
too,
I think
dude. The
it was
booth
it
was
was so
that was
cute.
like I don't, there was a few because like TwitchCon doesn't have a lot of stuff in it. It's more of like
Yeah.
a meet and greet thing, I think. But the actual Lost Ark booth, you guys, was like it was like a Tortoric village. There's like things I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, this is really cool. You guys did a good job on that. I thought it was
I
definitely one of the
was
highlights.
I saw the I don't know what the word is, like the plans for it beforehand and I was like, "Oh, this is either going to be really cool or like really goofy." Like,
Yeah.
it was like this is very ambitious, but I think it came out really good.
No, it was good. And then you had people going through the maze or whatever, and then I got to meet Sci-Fi. Dude was sweating up in there, dude. I felt so bad, man.
It was toasty in there.
Yeah. He was
I
just
was trapped in a
nonstop
little
doing
hut and it
interviews.
was
He was just sweating the whole time, and he was just I was like, dude, this is exhausting, man. Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's a lot, especially and like I said, a lot of stuff like was gone like that for a while with COVID. So I think that was the first event I'd been to in a few years. Like
yeah, me too.
and I'm sure I don't know if you've experienced this before, but I'm not used to it. Like I'm not a creator or anything, but I had people coming up to me and being like, "Oh, you're Roxx," and I was like, "I should know you," and they were like, "No, I know you from the forums," and I was like, "I'm sorry."
Oh, that's cool.
No, but I was like, "What? Like, why do you know who I am?" And I've had that happen like a little bit with past games before, but not to the scale that it happened with Lost Ark. So it was just like wild experiencing that.
I had a couple of those. Like some guy
So
came up
weird.
to me. He's like, "Hey man, like I'm banned in your chat. Can you unban me?" I swear to God,
Oh my
dude.
god.
He was like, "Hey man, I'm
Like, I
banned in your
guess.
chat. I love your stream. Can you unban me?" Like, what did you do? And he like told me what he did, and then I was like, I unbanned him right there. It was
I was
so
gonna say, I
funny.
wanted to know if you weren't gonna say that. I was
No,
gonna ask.
it
You
was. I
unbanned
probably
him?
don't want to say it on this thing. It was.
No, 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 no. I
Yeah.
just meant like if he got unbanned.
Oh yeah, I unbanned him. I unbanned him. He seemed like a nice
Okay,
guy.
okay.
People make
All right,
mistakes.
all
You
right.
know, it happens. So. Okay, so I feel like
Oh
that's
my
a pretty
god.
good just general
Yeah.
introduction. I think a lot of people do know who you are, but just sometimes on YouTube, maybe people don't know who you are. But everyone on Twitch definitely knows who you are because the Twitch community for Lost Ark is very like a tight knit community. A lot of people get
Hmm.
very excited, and it's a very nice community overall, I would say, on Twitch. So if
Yeah.
you're not on YouTube, you should come check it out. And if you're looking for people to play with and you're listening to this right now, there's a lot of great people that you can meet in the Twitch section for Lost Ark. They're very helpful to newer players too. Most of them are. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So I wanted to lead in because there's so many things to talk about, so many questions to ask you, and I don't want to feel like I'm just drilling you with questions nonstop. But that's kind of what it ends up being sometimes. But there are so many things to talk about. So I wanted to start off with just some of the things, at least, and I feel that some of these from the community.
Hmm.
But things that I am currently, before we go into like what we want or what things that we hope to see or what's coming, things that I think have changed a lot in our version of the game. And I have a list here, so I'm gonna have to read them off, that I'm really happy with. Okay, I think
Cool.
it's a good introduction and then maybe good feedback for the team as well.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so the first thing was I think the recent roadmap was significantly better, and I think I told you this in the last time I saw you. Probably don't remember. There's a lot of stuff going on that
Oh
day,
no, I
but
remember. I remember that
yeah,
conversation.
the roadmap was way better, dude. It was way more in depth. It laid out things better. It gave you a better idea like what time of the month things were happening. Skins were included in there, events. It was more in depth of like what you could expect with various classes, like if there was going to be events and when they would end. Why are people saying dude? Oh, dude. I
No,
say
it's
dude a
really
lot.
bad.
Yes, what do you mean? I say this all the time. I'm not going to, that's how I talk. So it was significantly better and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. Oh, sorry. I was
no,
like,
no, it's okay. It's fine.
I don't want to cut you off.
No, no.
No, yeah, I definitely appreciate that. I don't want to get too far ahead, but we are looking at next year. Obviously, we're going to keep doing those roadmaps. Um, don't know if this is going to happen. Don't quote me. We are looking at potentially doing 4-month chunks instead of 3 months. Potentially.
Yeah.
The game is a live service game. Things are in flux. We do like to get, better details, layout, all those things you listed whenever we can. Obviously, sometimes that's a bit of a challenge because there are still moving pieces that can be happening. Like we don't always know right away. And like I said, I
Yeah.
don't take this as
Yeah.
stone, but oftentimes, even if you're like, hey, this is kind of what we're thinking, people hear that and they're like, this needs to happen now. And if it doesn't,
Yeah.
everything is terrible. So that's something, we try to be very cognizant of, but definitely um, sharing that as well as sharing, this might be getting a little bit ahead, but our content cadence will look a little bit different next year. We got all the way up to Brawl this year. Obviously, next up is a con, and that's a more recent thing, even in KR. So we're going to have to kind of readjust a little bit of the content flow next year, and I think it'll be healthy, but really getting into you know, uh, explanations and stuff and letting people know kind of what's going on wherever we can.
Sure, we'll talk about that. I have a little bit on that as well. I
It's,
think
I just
another
got
thing.
ahead.
No, it's fine. You can. It doesn't matter. I don't give.
I know, I know.
I can go.
No,
I
no,
can
no,
skip
I
it.
know, but I'm like, I'm spoiling.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think it's good.
All right.
I think another thing was the communication prior to the patches have been better because I remember before we had like the Argo situation and then the Viking situation. I remember people would go they were like you said mid July or something, and I think
Oh my
people
God, that
held
was so
you.
funny.
People held you. Was it mid July? I don't know what it was.
I mean, I don't remember if it's June or July, but they had like blacked out the whole middle of the calendar.
Yeah.
Those things still make me. I'm not gonna lie, I still laugh about that.
Yeah. So like, but now we get some type of like notes before we get like a trailer before now, and it's much more clear when things are going to come
Yeah,
out, and that's different than how it is in some other regions. Like when I was playing in KR, we didn't know a raid was coming out till like 4 days before, and that kind of sucks for at least me as more of like a Western player. I like a
hmm
little bit of notice. It gives me a lot of anxiety. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's in a few days. And now we get a better idea because of the roadmap, but also like a week prior, we're getting some notice, some info on the content. And I think that's
yeah.
significantly better than in the past.
I think the December update, this trailer came out a lot earlier too. I don't work directly on that side, but I believe it. Based on the calendar I saw, at least it slipped out a bit earlier than normal. And yeah, for sure. We again, so we run into that challenge, and I know sometimes we've had patches and stuff where it's like, surprise, this other thing is added in, so it can be challenging to like capture every single detail again when you're moving so fast and things are changing. But like, I'm glad to hear that's been kind of noticed and stuff, because it's something we're super aware of, and whenever possible we're
It's
like,
way
all
better.
right, let's share this.
It's way,
Cool. No,
it's
I
way better.
I appreciate that, and I'm sure my team will as well.
Yeah, much better. The marketing trailers, way better. Okay, like some of them I was like, all right, but the last one I like, you know what bat chest means? I don't know if you know what that means, but
I'm not cool. I'm not hip.
no, I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to. Bat chest is like an emo that people use, but I got a little. Bat chest is like feelings of excitement. Okay,
Okay, okay.
so they're typing it right now. But
I see. Yeah.
I got really also 7TV. 7TV is a great extension to have on your browser when you're going through Twitch. I got really excited watching the trailer, and I've done it before. I thought it was a really well done trailer. I liked it. The ending was good. The music choice was good, and they've been improving, and I can see it in the comments too.
Yeah, for sure.
People
That's
are a
what
lot
it's good. I
happier
really
about
like
it.
the October one personally,
It was good
out of the
too.
recent
A lot
ones.
of people like that as well. Also with the marketing, you're including a lot more creators and all types of different creators. I saw my friend Cannon there. We had Grenton. And you're doing different like types of marketing material using people in the community. And I think people also appreciate, because I remember when the game first came out, people were like, why aren't you asking so-and-so to do something? Or why aren't you asking so-and-so? And now you've got a diverse amount of people working on community made content that I think people really appreciate.
And I think that's something that's super important to us too. Cause like I was talking about a little bit earlier, like some of y'all have been playing this game for years before, I was even at Amazon. Right. So it's like, yeah, let's highlight those people that are so dedicated and like help each other almost, it was like you mentioned Grenton with the Reaper video. It's like, all right, who else is going to make that
I
video?
think he tweeted at you
Like,
for 200 days. Was it like
it's gotta be Grenton. It was a lot. Yeah. He DM'd me like every week for like 2 months too. And he was like, what is it? And I was like, dude, I'm not going to tell you.
This dude.
Like, I love, like, it was all very pleasant. He's great, but
he DM'd me a Reaper guide that he made like 5 months ago. I'm like, Grenton, this class might not come out for like 5 months. Why are you making this guide? He's like, I'm just getting it ready, man. So when it comes out, I'll release the video. He released that video. So this guy made a Reaper guide or something. Like, hello, this is Grenton. This, welcome to the Reaper class. And it's like, what the sounds. He made that thing like 5 months ago. I'm like,
he was ready.
Yeah, he was really
But
ready.
like, we recognize that and we appreciate it. And we're like, we want to support, and it just makes sense. So it was really exciting to be able to do that, have that reveal where everybody is like, oh, Grenton, that's the Reaper guy.
Yeah. All right. The expressive, there's been a lot of events, and I think a lot of people don't. This is the dangerous thing about events, though, because the dangerous thing about events is people get used to them. And in other versions that I've played, we have these little web events that people really want. They're like these little web things on the side, but those usually replace in-game vendors and events. Okay. We have so many. We always have event. I think this is the first week I can recall that we don't have a vendor that's up right now at the moment. But we have so many events. We've had a ton of Hyper Express events that go up to like 1445, which is way faster cadence than Cadence. I always say Candace or something. I don't know what I say, but Cadence.
I'm going to start using that.
No, dude, I say can't. What did I say, chat? Was it can't? I don't know what I said. They always bring that up. But it's way faster Cadence. That's right?
Yeah.
Than other regions. And I think that it's been helpful for people that really wanted to play these various classes, because it is difficult if you are moving at a fast pace and then the classes are coming out. The faster you move, the harder it is for that newer class to kind of catch up. So by offering these express events and these power passes, which we weren't expecting sometimes and we get them anyway, I think has been great. Difficult to manage, obviously, but I think it's been great.
Yeah. Glad to hear that too. I mean, definitely that as well. Like, I know a lot of folks were frustrated initially when we're like, hey, we won't be giving a power pass for every single class. But in some of these other regions, they get a couple a year. And it was like, I know everybody's like, we want all the classes all at once. And, that wasn't realistic for us. But it was also like, okay, we do that. We're giving out how many tons of power passes this year. And I think most of the releases have had some sort of at least event or pass paired with them. Even, well, at least right now, Summoner, it kind of connects with the last one. So, even if we can't do everything like 1-to-1, we're super aware of like making sure players can get where they need to be. And like, obviously Brel is out now, so that year versus however many years it took in other regions, it's like we want players to be able to move and get to that kind of end game and enjoy the new content, because if they can't, why are we releasing it?
The thing is, you have a lot of classes. Well, you had a lot of classes to catch up on, right? So it's difficult. It's like you're just handing out a ton of passes, then you want to stagger these class releases to kind of generate some excitement around the game, right? And so it's hard to have so many classes coming out so fast and then offering passes with them, right? I think that makes it difficult. Overall, though, I really do personally believe the game has come a significant. Like when the game first came out, everyone looked the same. We were all wearing the same skin. We all had the Omen gear. There was not a lot of QL into the game just yet, but now I feel like since the game has come out, we're about to have all of the major raids except one, and then like Algacia is like a dungeon. And we have almost all of the classes now. So it's come a huge way in the past year. So I think the game has improved a lot. There are some things that players, want to provide feedback on, obviously, but there are
Totally.
also some things that they're obviously anxiously excited about, and also me too. There's some things that I want to see in the game or whatever. So with that being said, I kind of want to dive into some of that stuff.
Sure.
And we'll just go through them, and then you can give me as much information as you can. Obviously, if you can't, then it's, I get it, right? But
Can't spoil too much, but
yeah.
yeah, we'll see what I can do.
So I want to talk about a little bit. You kind of dived into it what next year's roadmap, because this roadmap is coming to an end.
Mhm.
We have Summoner coming out on the 14th with Brelshaza. That's a really big patch, and the pacing of the game has been pretty fast.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I know that you said that you like the ideal situation is to be as close as KR as possible. But then it's also like there's this gap, and it's hard to overcome this large item level gap. So is there any like thoughts so far on how to kind of accomplish that? Or is there any, how do you, is the team talking about it at all, or any feedback there and how we want to go about doing that? Or is there any, what do you think next year could look like at
Uh,
all without,
I have no,
yeah,
I got you. Um, just like a couple initially, and I kind of touched on this earlier. The cadence will look a little bit different. We've had pretty massive patches every single month, pretty much since launch. We will still absolutely have an update every month. That's still on the docket. But like you said, as we've caught up with a lot of classes and stuff, it won't be like quite as frequent because I think we're missing now just the two specialist classes
yeah,
at this point. Um, so we're catching up in that way. Said it earlier, like a con's the last major raid, so we're very aware of this and like spreading those things out kind of through the year. Um, and then like also just we're still trying to figure out when parity might come. That's like a little bit broader. But I I will say we will probably always be. I think the goal too, just to be clear, when I say parity, we will probably always be a few months behind Korea. I would say maybe between 3 and 6, just because we have to,
yeah,
get the build and they have to release the build and we have to get it and we have to adjust it and localize it and everything. So at when we reach that point, that will be probably pretty consistent pacing. But obviously it will be a lot more clear. Like we'll just be kind of moving along
yeah.
much more similarly to them. So again, I'm not 100% sure when that will happen, what that looks like, but we're definitely kind of aware that content pacing will look a little bit different next year. We still want to have exciting beats. We plan on sticking around and rolling things out every month, for sure. But yeah, and that's kind of why we're thinking about doing these little bit longer roadmap glimpses as well.
So the goal is like somewhere between 3 to 4 month roadmaps instead of the two. This last one was 3 though, right?
Was it the last one was
3,
3?
right, chat?
Yes.
It was a 3 month roadmap. I think it was.
I'm trying to remember. They all blend together in my brain at some point.
It was 3. I think it was
Okay.
3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so definitely like I think 3 to 4 would be ideal. Again, when, live game, you're getting different builds. Things could always change and we're aware of that. Like we kind of have an overview of what we maybe want the year to look like, but obviously until we're in it,
Yeah.
things could always be pulled up, pushed out, whatever.
Do you know, is
So,
there
being aware of that.
any idea of what kind of when players could see the next roadmap, or no info yet?
Yes. Ideally before the end of 2022. We would like to, get it out before January. I think normally we get it out before the month that it
Yeah.
highlights. It's going to be a crazy couple. I know it has been a crazy month and with the December update and everything, but it is being worked on and we would love to have it out before we hit 2023. So
Just juggling how many months we can throw on that roadmap, right?
yeah, we're still figuring it out. So, that in mind too, that was kind of a newer thing. So that if we're adding a little bit more content, that could make it take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Possibly, but we'll figure out what we can do there and what feels right.
I
So
think a lot
hopefully
of
either of those
yeah,
options is a good
yeah,
option.
yeah. I think a lot of people. It's fine. I think a lot of people just want to know about artist, Aeromancer, then female berserker is like another gender unlock class that people are expecting to be announced. I
Mhm.
think in a couple of weeks, you're probably gonna get bombarded with that like very
Oh yeah.
soon. In about 2 weeks, I think you're gonna get some crazy questions about female berserker.
I'm sure.
So the next topic, just in general, is just winter LOAON. So LOAON is like this big event that happens every year, and it's something that we always do on Twitch. Like the tradition is we go to Saints stream, and I just
Mhm.
chill in his Discord. I'll get like a burrito, and I just kind of sit and call with them, and it starts at like 9 p.m. and it goes all the way to like 5 in the morning. And it's like a really exciting time for Lost Ark because it's going to give you a lot more work, right? With people asking you when we're going to get all these things, it lays out a lot, right? It
Oh,
lays out
totally.
all of
Yeah,
the
it's a huge
things
event.
that comes out. And sometimes it's translated. There was one year, man, where like the first year, I think it was a year, it was before Lost Ark came out. So it came out in February, right? So in December, they had this guy, or girl, I don't know who it was, typing and doing live translations via messages. And it was so scuffed. I mean, the guy was like trying to keep up with it, and then
Good.
he's erasing it, and then at one point he literally gave up. He was like trying to,
I
and then just stopped, and we're like, wait, what happened?
That's
Um,
pretty funny. Yeah, I can't imagine keeping up, especially with all your terms and stuff for a game this big.
he was
Oh
trying to
man,
it was scuffed. It wasn't good. So then I
you're
think the
just
last
really
one,
having a day.
summer was like kind of scuffed too, but at the end of it, they had this little note that people were really bummed about because we all stay up to like 5 in the morning. And on the thing, they're showing all these things that Korea is gonna get, right? New
Mhm.
skins, Fions, chests, and we're like, oh my god, this looks so cool. Maybe we can get that. And then it goes, this is not for the Western version. It's only for Korea. And then it's like a pretty poopy thing to read, you know? You're just like, dude, like, and so I think for a lot of us, obviously you have no control over this. I think for a lot of us, it's like if we want to be more included in these like what the plan is for the game because we're affected by that too, like
Yeah,
what's going to happen. It's going to, a lot of the QOL stuff you guys have done amazing at. We have so much
right.
of that in the game that even launched with the game. An example is like DX9. We used to be on DX9. You guys launched it with DX11, right?
Yep.
The headed front indicators, blue crystals at the end of the dungeon. It used to cost blue crystals when you want to get extra loot. Now you guys changed
Mhm.
it to gold. And a
Gold.
lot of these
Yep.
things are way better. So but we want, and I think we really want to see some type of feedback. Maybe we can get feedback we want to be included a little bit more, can't control that, or our own little like just yearly video update or our own yearly stream event or something for our own anniversary or something for our own event to maybe talk more publicly to the community about what we can expect. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's possible, but I know it's something that I think a lot of people would appreciate in the West.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna start coughing. This is gonna be
No,
awesome. Hold on.
no, go ahead. You're good.
Sorry, I was like,
No,
wow,
you're
that was
okay.
great timing. Um, I don't 100% know it's possible, like, especially even as I'm kind of mentioning the roadmap and stuff next year and all these things changing and like hence the like, well, we won't have like a full year overview, because these things are still being determined. So that definitely makes it a bit of a challenge. I don't have a whole lot of insight until the on events until after, or they're pretty much happening just because it
Yeah.
is kind of, a Korea based thing. We kind of tune into them and like to be aware of what's going on because like obviously like you said, then people are like, oh, when are these things coming? Um, but at the moment at least those are definitely a KR event. I imagine, as we get closer to parity and stuff, it will feel a little bit more closely relevant. I'm not sure, on the Smilegate side, if they would like to make them more global at that point.
Yeah.
I imagine it would be a little bit easier just in terms of, not having the content be as separate. But again, that's not something I have too much insight on.
Yeah.
But definitely in terms of doing our own kind of things, we do. I don't know that we'll do a blowout like that, but we did bring on someone to kind of head community video who's
Cool.
very talented. I'm not sure what that's going to look like yet because he's relatively new to the team, but we definitely are interested in like kind of exploring what different kinds of video content we can maybe do. Um, I think he's working through a couple options right now, so this could end up being he is the creative genius, so this could end up being different kinds of formats, different kinds of shows, whatever. And again, I don't quite know what that will look like yet, but we're definitely open to doing more things, being around in general. I think it would
Yeah.
also be awesome just personally. For me, I think I'm probably pretty obviously the one Lost Ark players tend to see the most. I think it would
Yeah.
be awesome if we could get some other faces and stuff out there as well. Obviously, whatever, other team members are comfortable with.
Yeah.
But I would
I
love to
can't
have some of
imagine.
those
I can't
opportunities.
imagine what it's gotta be like. Just because it's so much coming. I can't. I really can't. Like I always think about this when I end my stream. Some days I'm like, oh my god, I'm so fried, and I do think about like it's gotta be. You must have some crazy like like self-care sometimes. It's a lot, a lot of questions, a lot of asking. I really think it's got to be a difficult role too. So having someone else I think would be great too, and doing video content to talk layout stuff I
Yeah,
think would be good.
it's a different way, I think it's challenging sometimes to like I know a lot of times players right now are like, I'm gonna look at the dev tracker for information in the forums, and it's like me commenting on random stuff and sometimes making dumb jokes. So having, it's another format. It's a different way to get content out there and engage with people and stuff. So I'm very excited about that. Fingers crossed it continues to go well. But again,
Cool.
that's kind of a new thing we're trying to spin up. So we'll see when it happens, but
Yeah, sure, sure.
I'm very excited.
I think any like community stream would be good, and then maybe even
Yeah,
talking about updates and stuff like that. People get super excited about that, and it
totally.
gives a good sense of community and stuff. Another cool thing was the Adobe pet, and so we had the Adobe pet where you're in the game, you're like immortalized in the game as a pet, and then we have
That
that
was
one.
wild. I didn't know they were gonna name it after me, and then I got an email, and I was like, "What?" Okay.
Yeah, we have the Roxx
Fine.
pet, Mod's pet. So my question is, when am I getting a pet? But that's not
Tomorrow.
that's
Oh, no,
not that's not the
I
question.
was
That,
going with it.
no,
I
no,
was
no,
going
no, no,
for it.
that's not the question. That's not the question. So I thought it was really cool because it did show that like we could get some customization to skins or things that are unique to our version.
Yes. Yes.
And
I
people get
said
really
that really
excited about that.
excitedly. I
Yeah.
said that really excitedly. I was like, "Whoa." No,
Yeah.
for sure. It was super cool to first of all be a part of with Dabots. It was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun to get like the community involved in making those. Um yeah, it's something we're super aware of. There are some things we're kind of looking into. I know Korea does for their is it their
It's
anniversary
their
skins?
anniversary. Yeah.
Their player designed kind of things. That's something we potentially would like, and I don't know if it will be the same use case, but something we'd potentially like to bring to our region as well. If it's something that we can work with Smilegate on, having just different, I think region exclusive things are pretty cool in general too, because like you said, it really feels like it's like, oh, this is ours.
Yeah.
So we're highly aware of that. We're working through some other concepts as well, and hopefully we can have a couple more moments and things like that.
Yeah. Save us from the suits, please, dude. All they do is suits, man. I feel like I'm playing Sims. They release all these skins, and I'm looking at it's just what's going on, man. Like, I'm not like, I don't like, I'm not super about fantasy, but it's just everything that they make is a shirt, a suit, a sweater. I have like, I feel like I'm walking into like Forever 21. And I would like a little bit of like, just a little bit of diversity. But even just working with the pets and things like that,
Right.
having more unique stuff is good. So whether it be the Adobe collab or pushing to see
Yeah.
if we can get stuff like that. I think
And I
it'd be
mean,
so
it
good
can
for the
definitely
game.
be, challenging too, because we have to be aware of the resources it takes to
Yeah, of
create
course.
something like that. And for, when it's only coming out in one region as well,
How
like,
much is gonna? Yeah, I totally get it.
yeah, how all
So
those, but like, we definitely, I mean, I think it would be super cool. So, so
yeah,
it's definitely, coming up. And
that's cool. So the team is aware of it though. That's
oh,
awesome.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool to hear. I'm actually really happy to hear that. Um,
Hmm.
just the awareness of it. So the another thing was Yaz's jar. Okay, now I'm gonna. This is personally me. So those skins are, I would say, uh, they're the best skins in Lost Ark for so many classes. Okay, by far the best. And I know before it came out, there was so much controversy around these skins, and a lot of people didn't
Yeah.
actually know how they worked. I don't know if, and I must have been overwhelming for the team to hear how these worked because
Hmm.
people were saying figures like these skins are going to cost a ton of gold and it's going to be super expensive to get, and the drop rates are super low, and how the system worked, and that there's a big advantage if you have these skins. And
Yeah.
so I'm just speaking for myself.
No, no, no.
Okay.
You're fine.
Um, those skins do not provide that big of an advantage. It's a 10% rate from those little jars. And I think it
Yeah.
was really blown out so much. And a lot of players were newer at that time. So I understand that they were so worried about it. But there's tons of things in the game like cards, polishing that provide way more effectiveness to the game that people happily engage with. And a
Yeah.
lot of people really want these skins. And I know the team has said that like it's not kind of on the table, but is there anything there yet, or can we expect those skins in the future? Because I don't want them to be gone, or even if they're altered, I don't want them to be gone
Right.
because they're so good overall that many players want them.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. Um, I know there's like a lot of feelings around that. I think ultimately, right now, with the way the Yaz's jar, pricing and monetization works, at this time, that's still not directly something we want to have like one to one in this version of the game, just because it is, even if it's not quite as extreme, it is potentially a very high price point, and there are a lot of RNG systems in the game for
Yeah,
sure, but it doesn't always feel great to spend a bunch of money and get nothing for it, right? So definitely trying to mitigate instances of that. Um, so we're definitely, and this conversation has kind of started again. Like, it's not completely. So I think when we made that announcement, we had mentioned like we'll potentially look at it in the future. And then for a while we were kind of focused on other things. So there have been some conversations again. One of the challenges is that, because that the current system is the way you earn it in other regions, there are some concerns with fairness. Like, oh, if we get it and you can earn it and it's easier, like, that's going to feel really bad if you're playing in another region or
yeah,
whatever. Again, easier just being kind of like a relative term
yeah,
for comparison here. So we're definitely not opposed to having them in the game. We just have to figure out, a way that makes sense and feels okay globally as well. So it's not just necessarily about us in the West. So we're definitely kind of iterating on that to see if there's something we can do. I think there's, several different ideas on the table, which I'm not going to speak to because I don't know if these
sure,
are going to come to fruition or
sure,
not.
sure.
But it's definitely, something that is still coming up and we're still kind of open at looking into. Like, it's not just like disappeared into the ether.
Yeah,
Like,
dude,
we're aware of it. Like, as recently as I was actually in Seattle this week. I flew back last night to be on this podcast,
oh
and my
my
flight
God, don't
got
say that.
very
Now I feel
delayed.
awful.
I
No, no,
know,
no,
my
no.
flight got so delayed, and I was not feel good last night. And I was like, I made it. But there
I
were,
feel
yeah.
awful.
No, no,
I'm a
no.
guilty
I
conscious person.
committed.
You can't
No, no,
do
no.
that to
I'm
me.
sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I mean, I made the decision before I booked my Seattle trip, so it's fine. I did it. Don't worry. It's not your fault. But yeah, I was in Seattle with a lot of the team, and we were having some of these conversations among ourselves and stuff. So like, it's very recently been talked about. And again, I don't know what that might look like. We could end up in a space where like, hey, this still doesn't really make sense. This still doesn't quite work out. We may have to wait a little bit again. But it's we're still
Yeah,
chatting about it. We're still
yeah.
aware.
Because players can buy the skins for gold, right? That's what I
Yeah.
want people to remember is that you can get the skins for gold.
Y-
Like it's
Uh,
you can.
I believe so
So
in
it's
other regions, yeah.
yeah, you just go to
But
the
that's
auction
something
house and you
too.
buy it, and
Yeah,
people will just
you can
dismantle their
sell
skins
them.
for it. So I watched the trailers a lot for this. What do you go to Seattle for, by the way? I didn't know. Is there like an office over there?
Oh, Amazon like owns like all of Seattle basically.
Wait, is
Like
that
I'm not joking. And I don't mean games specifically, but like seriously, I don't know. Somebody said a number that lived there. I don't live there obviously, but somebody said like 30% of the buildings or something stupid in downtown Seattle is like Amazon owned. Like
wow.
it's crazy. So we have so our actually our Lost Ark team is kind of spread out. I'm in Southern California. We have folks up working out of Seattle. Primarily that's where kind of our two base locations are. Some people in also SoCal, but a different part of SoCal that I'm in. So we're actually kind of spread out a little bit. But we tend to, yeah, we went up to Seattle because we do have like there's a big games kind of office up there. So it was where we decided to meet.
But you
Good
also have
food.
something in San Diego too, right?
Yes, that's where I'm located. So we have an office here. We have like a couple different offices. So different people will like work out at different places. Clearly, I am like working from home right now. Our San Diego office isn't actually open at the moment. But yeah, we have a couple like bases of operations.
Do you like working from home, or do you think you'd rather go into
I
the
want to be a
office?
hybrid. So
Yeah.
like I I like both. I think a lot of times, and this is just very general and like about me, not like the Lost Ark team. But I really like being able to like wander over to someone's desk and just be like, hey,
I like
like,
that too, yeah.
yeah. So, but like sometimes at home, it's like you can just sit down and get your work done and you're like, good. So I'm really hoping to be in the office a few days a week, like at home a few days. But like even when we were in Seattle, one of my producers walked up to me and he was just like, hey, like, we're doing this thing. Like, do you think this is fine? Do we need to like message about it? And I was just like, cool, man, sounds good. In like 30 seconds,
Yeah.
versus being like, I'm going to write you an
Yeah.
email and then we're going to
Yeah.
go back and forth while we're also doing other like work because we're all at home, waiting for you to respond. And I was like,
Yeah.
cool. It's like 4 messages that take however long versus like 30-second conversation. I will take that. So I definitely miss having some of that.
I was gonna ask you, it's not actually on here, but I think it's about your because we were the last time we did was about your Korea trip a little bit because you could go to
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Seattle, right?
Mhm.
You also have traveled to Korea to go to Smilegate, right? I
I
think
have, yes.
what was that experience? Was it experience like? I think we talked about it a
Yeah,
little bit, but I'm
a
curious.
little bit, yeah. I was there last May. It was super fun, honestly. I was very jet lagged. Um, so it was cool. We, got to meet up with the team we work with there. Meeting those folks in person is really nice because, and I think even talking about like working from home versus working in person, like it can just be a lot easier to get FaceTime with people and it's just like really nice versus like I could message someone for 6 months, but like meeting them in person is like I don't know, it's just different. So it was cool. We got to like talk about and I mean it was May, so it's like not quite as
Yeah,
relevant to what's going on
yeah.
now, but
Just curious what your experience was
talk
there.
about different things. We got to kind of talk about like I got to share with them like, hey, what really is community? I mean, my understanding is, the SGR devs don't quite have, the same community. Like they don't do social media in the same way.
Yeah,
They're a lot of different. So we got to kind of talk about like, hey, here's what we do and here's why we do it. And then we ate a bunch of good food and it was
nice.
super
Yeah,
rad.
the
Their
food was
offices are
good,
really
huh?
pretty too. Yeah, so it was a very good
Cool.
experience. I loved it there, honestly.
Yeah, I want to go back and you went in May,
I
right?
went in May and then I went again in September, but I didn't go to SGR. Like I just went to Korea because my best friend wanted to go and she's like, "You've been here, you can show me how to do things." And I was like, "I don't speak Korean. That's not how that works." But
Yeah.
we had a good time.
The weather
It
was
was
good in
fine.
May, or because that's dude. When I went, it was a little humid and hot. I want to go in the. Was May weather good?
It was like raining part of the time.
Oh,
It was
okay.
pretty humid and then it rained, I remember. I think the September weather was I in there September? Yeah, September. I think that weather was
It's good.
nicer.
Okay.
Honestly. Yeah, May was pretty humid.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I want to go back and get some food again. I had a lot of fun there.
Oh
I
my
didn't get to
God.
visit everywhere, but I want to go again.
Food's so good.
It is, dude. I was munching. Like I was eating so much food. I had Benji and my other friends take me around to different Korean
Mhm.
barbecue spots, and I was
Oh
just
my
eating
gosh,
the
yeah.
whole time. It was
There's
so good.
barbecue everywhere, and then it's dangerous because they literally have like the convenience stores like everywhere. So you
Yeah.
just walk around and it's like I'm gonna go get snacks like at
Yeah.
any point during the
I
day.
was trying to find some mint gum. I'm sorry, a mint gum, and I FaceTimed Cannon, and I was like, Cannon, can you read to me which one is mint gum? And he's like, I think it's the green one. And I put it in my mouth, and it was like melon. I'm like, bro, like I could not find mint gum, and he lives there. I'm like, how could you not tell me where the mint gum is? It was crazy. I was just trying to get some
Oh my
gum,
gosh.
normal gum, the toothpaste. I don't know. Anyway, just off-topic rant, but it was crazy just to get some mint
No,
gum.
it's yeah, it's definitely challenging not knowing the language. I was like, wow, I had it really easy when we were like hanging out with Smilegate, and they
Yeah.
were just like, yes, we'll order everything, like you're good. And then yeah, when I went back, it was like, I'm gonna point and like this looks good to me, like, but it was, I mean, it was still great. Like I had a
Yeah.
great time, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so another thing was we saw recently, I just saw this the other day, and I had it on here already. Korea recently released their public API, and I know so API
Yeah.
allows people the ability to make like see builds online, and people in the community have been asking for API for so long. They really want it, and now that KR has a public version where anyone can develop on it, it's like open to all developers
Mhm.
that want to work on it. They have like a leaderboard where you can just see different builds. And I know all the time I get asked, like, can you make a build, or um, can you link your build? And I'm always just like, oh, let me log on. I think they use it for the auction house too, to like look for accessories. Is this something that we can see in the West soon or at all? Because now that they have it public there, it's just like something that we want so bad
Yeah,
over
I
here.
was I was looking over because I was pulling up my message because I was recently talking to someone about this. So it's not something we've pursued yet, and like you said, now that it's up in Korea and everything, it might be a little bit more feasible. We would obviously have to figure out how to get that and make sure it was okay to have in our region. It is something that's a little bit of an undertaking. Like we don't necessarily have legal blockers on it, but we would have to kind of develop a license and program and get all those outlines just because of all different sorts of privacy, different
Yeah.
laws, just different ways that could be used that aren't initially or obviously you can do things with the API that you can't do with a regular game. It's just kind of different. Um, so we're open to it. It's just not something we've kind of had the bandwidth or been able to pursue at this point, but it's not like a no, we're never going to do this and we can't.
Okay.
It's just a bit of an undertaking, and we'll have to figure out if that's something that makes sense for us to do with ourselves and our partners.
Okay. I don't really know exactly how it works, to be honest, but I know
Oh yeah, I mean,
I have
I
no
was
idea how it
talking to the
works.
legal team, and that was a paraphrase.
I
I
have
don't know
no
about
idea
the
how it works.
law,
I don't
but
know.
that was it. I was like, his explanation to me, made sense, but obviously I don't know quite all of the legal outline. I did not go to law school. I type on the forms, so.
Yeah. I don't know how it works or but I just know people want to have their own like place to have like an armory, like and when I used to play World of
Mhm.
Warcraft, you could just pull somebody's, like you just type in their name and you could see their character. And I think there's like LOAON, which is like a community developed one, and I know a lot of
Yeah,
people think it'd be helpful for our version to have that.
for
I have
sure.
no
Yeah,
idea how
I
it works though.
definitely hear that, but I think it would be really cool if we can make it happen at some point, for
Okay.
sure.
So a few more of these. So we also have the Witcher collab, which I know is coming out next, or it doesn't say, it's in early 2023. And
It's
what's that?
Yeah. You tripped me up because I was about to say something and now I'm not sure if it's been announced. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think
Is it January? Did they leak it's January? I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think I remember
it's
reading.
coming out in early 2023.
I don't know. I literally
That's right here. Okay, it's on the website. It's
it's
January.
January.
You tripped
Okay.
me out. I was
All
like,
right.
I'm pretty sure we published
Okay.
that last week. Okay, you're fine. But then you said that and I was like,
It's 2020.
oh,
It's January. Okay. So that's pretty
it's public
cool.
knowledge. It's on the website.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. It's wild. Obviously, this was kind of developed out of Korea. It's I believe it's live in Korea right now. But we were kind of sitting on this for a while, and I was pretty stoked to like be able to like have a collaboration like that. Like it's pretty wild. I think I'm sure the KR trailer has been out, but like it's pretty sick. So I'm really excited we're also able to bring that to, our version so soon as well, because, all sorts of content gaps and stuff. So I'm hoping people will still be pretty hyped for it. I'm pretty hyped to play through it. I haven't yet.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I love just like little things like that. I don't know. I'm super into video games, so having moments like that would be super cool if we could do. I have no idea, but like, more stuff like that in the future. I just think
Yeah.
it's like really unique, and The Witcher is such like a huge IP. Um, Unfortunately, I asked if we could get Henry Cavill to do anything for us. And I was pretty immediately told no. That may have been like a vested personal interest, but
Damn. All right.
I'm
All
just
right.
kidding. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's skins that come with it. People are excited.
Mhm.
It's, but at the event's kind of like. So, is there any like I guess info on what we're getting it a lot sooner? Like that was cool that we felt included in that, and I thought a lot
Yeah,
of people were excited. Was there any? What was the talk there? Like, why can we expect more things like that maybe not vertical progression or like things that maybe are just like events like that to be more included on our version as well?
I
Or
love that you said that because it was 100% like intentional. With this, like we knew we would get it a few months after, but we thought, especially being a collaboration, right? It was such a cool announcement.
yeah,
We were like, and like you said, sometimes things get announced in KR and then it's like, oh, when is it coming? And we're like, we don't know, we can't answer the questions right away. But because this was such a fast follow, we're like, let's do it. Like, let's at least put out information on our end um,
yeah, I thought
at
that
the
was
same
cool.
time. So that was, yeah, I was super excited we were able to do that. So I love that you said that. Again, I think it depends on the content, right? Because sometimes when it's our own update content, we're doing whatever localizing. Um, but kind of collaborations or like global events and things like this, I think would love to keep doing that. I repeated myself, but like I said, I was
Yeah,
super
no,
excited to be
I'm
like, we
excited
get to
too. It's
announce
good.
this at the same time because it's just such a cool thing.
I thought that was cool because I opened up Twitter and I didn't expect us to get. I'm like, oh, like to be honest, that's what it sucks because sometimes people are just you're a little doomer because you like see these cool things like a shot. It's like, oh, I want that. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like my friend would come over, like he get like a brand new. I remember, I'll never forget this. My friend got like it was a Nintendo SP. Was it an SP chat or PS? The one that would flip.
It was an
Was
SP.
it an SP?
Yeah,
He came over
it
with
was
it and he
an
had
SP.
Pokemon like Ruby Red, I think it was, or Sapphire. I forgot the number.
Oh my god.
And I cried. I was a little baby. I was such a spoiled kid brat, but I was crying because he had not a DS. It was the one before that. It was an SP.
Yeah,
And I cried
I
because
know
he had
exactly
it.
what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I want that. Like he has when he's coming over, he's playing it with, in front of me. So I thought it was cool to see that we would be included in that. I was like, oh, that's really cool that we're getting that ahead. And it's also nice because we get some more skins that aren't suits.
Mhm.
And I'm so sick of the suits.
No,
But
I'm taking a note.
yeah.
They hate suits. Hate
Yeah.
suits.
I mean, it's just so many suits,
I know,
it's
I
more
know.
suits that I personally own. I have more suits in game than I have in real life. And so,
I
um,
would be kind of concerned if that wasn't the case, though. Like,
I mean, but there's so many,
You're, no, I
Yeah.
know, but I was like, you're like, yeah, I have like 7. Like, for what?
I
For a
actually
month?
don't think I own a single suit. I have to be
Oh, there you
honest
go.
with you. I
I
don't think
was
I own a
like, how
single
many do you
one.
own?
Maybe two
Kind of
ties.
derailed, but I
No,
was like,
no,
huh.
maybe two ties. But so I thought that was cool. And that's coming in January. So I'm assuming that'll be in the roadmap. The other thing was weird though, is that I honestly don't know this, but um, with those skins, artist is in there too.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know how those work. Is there any chance that the event will go on long enough or?
That is on my list of questions to ask.
Okay.
I've heard that one a few times. I don't have an answer yet, but
Okay.
I'm sending over some stuff
Yeah.
today,
Okay.
actually.
Cool.
So hopefully I can get an answer on kind of what that looks like and we can figure that out.
Yeah, I'm sure some people want some of those. Okay.
For
Um,
sure.
so that's some really good stuff. So I have now two hard questions that I'm sure
All right.
they're harder ones. Okay.
Ready.
So they're a little bit more difficult. So The first one is going to be the DC issues, which if I don't bring
Oh,
it, these are the two hard ones, right?
no, that's fine. I got excited. Sorry, carry on.
The DC
I
issues.
I just thought it was gonna be something like that. I wasn't expecting it to be that.
Okay.
Sorry,
Well, I mean, it's
I
just,
keep interrupting
dude,
you.
this is the ones that I get bombarded with. Like, I'm sick. I'm stupid. Stoops, I'm sick of this. I'm DC'd for the 10th time in my
No, I
Vikings.
get it.
What are they gonna do about this? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, what do you want me to do? And they're just, they're like getting mad at me. So it's hard for me. It's
Oh, I
difficult
get
because
it.
people get so angry. I have a friend named Nuki. He's all mad. There's another question after this, but what do you think has caused this issue? What does the team think has caused this issue? Everyone's saying it's easy anti-cheat. They're like, remove it from the game. They're pissed. I know you guys are probably working really hard on it because, like, obviously, it's affecting the game and it doesn't make people happy. It makes your job a lot harder. And there's a big patch coming up, right? And so a lot of
Yeah.
people are just
For
like
sure.
so worried about Brel and the raid. And I guess my question is, is there any feedback on the issue so far? And are they worried that it's going to interfere with the patch, or what's the team, I guess,
Yeah,
conversation like right
we're
now?
definitely hyper aware, and that's why I was like laughing. I was like, I talk about disconnects every day because I was like, you're like hard question, and then
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, no, we had actually some of the team was in Korea last week, actually before they were in Seattle. Super aware of it, to the point working really closely, working all the time. I think one of the challenges here is there's potentially multiple things going in it. I know people are just like destroy AC. I put EA
Easy
and
anti-cheat,
DC
yeah.
in my head together, and it came out AC. Turn off EAC, it'll fix it. Like that's not the case. Like we've tested all sorts of things. Um, there are totally issues with EAC. I think that people have experienced in different capacities since launch. Like super aware of that. We had EAC issues over the weekend with an updated module, but those were something separate. Um, bots don't help. Obviously, EU West has a lot less of these issues, so obviously
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
so many different factors going into it. Good news. I'm waiting on a clear, so this isn't out yet, but we're getting hopefully good news, potentially good news. We are getting like a client patch that we're trying to deploy hopefully today. That we think may have a potential solution, potential improve. I don't want to call a solution. Hopefully, potentially improve. I don't have full details, some back end changes and stuff that we can just kind of push into the game. So there is progress being made. We are like trying to figure it out. Obviously, I can't guarantee that
Of
will
course,
be
yeah.
the magic bullet, band-aid, fix everything. I think part of this issue, and I know it's been super frustrating because it's like, for some people the game is like unplayable. And it's been going on for so long, and a lot of the times in the forums we're like, hey, can you give us more information on this? And they're like, what are you talking about? It's been the same thing for
Yeah, I think
100
NA
years,
yeah. I think NA has no problems, which is
right?
weird. I don't have them that bad. Like it might happen to
I
me
haven't either.
like once in a while. But I think EUC, there's the clip of Nico where he's just DCing 15 times in a
Central
row.
is
Yeah.
rough, yeah. We have someone internally that like on our team that plays all the time, and she like can't really even play anymore. And we're like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. But like asking for player reports and stuff, we do it kind of every time we make a change or have a suspicion. So like I know sometimes people get frustrated, like, why are you asking players? Just figure it out. But like there are tens of thousands of you. Like it does not matter, how much we QA something. Sometimes like, every person's on a different network, has different hardware, different whatever. So all the folks that have been able to like jump in and share information whenever we ask for it have helped so much. So again, today or whenever that client patch goes out, we don't know if it'll, magically fix everything. We're hoping to see an improvement, but I will be back there being like, please let me know. And I'm sure well, I'm not sure, but very possible some folks will have a better experience. Some might
Yeah.
have the same, but like being able to see that at scale with all of our players, and I know it's super frustrating being like, why am I troubleshooting this? Like I just want to play the game, but it's super helpful, and obviously with that client patch coming, it's still very actively being worked on.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people. are worried about the raid, and so it's good to hear that we're trying to do stuff before
Oh yeah.
this next
Oh yeah,
patch.
we have not stopped. Like we're not, and to be clear, we're not like being like, yeah, let's hold this potential DC fix till our next update. Like anything that'll come through will definitely be kind of made with urgency,
Okay.
Like this is client side fix is convenient because there's no downtime, but we don't like to go into hot fix or maintenance or unexpected downtime, but for something like this, like we absolutely would. Obviously, it's very, very important.
Yeah, just to clarify for everyone listening, we don't have to wait for a big patch for this to get solved. Any solutions that you guys do find are going to be happening now until,
Yeah,
any
whenever. I mean,
whenever. Yeah.
whenever it's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're definitely super aware.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Potentially last, like, more difficult question, more spicy topic that people, and I think we've talked about this a bajillion times. Bots. Okay.
Oh
So,
yeah. See, you're like these are so hard, and I'm like,
I mean, they're just topics.
This is every day of my life.
It's
Every
my
day
day
I
of my
wake
life
up
too,
and I'm
though.
like, this connects bots. Yeah.
This is every day of my life too, but it's like I opened the floodgate for this thing, man. We have an email called Juan Reloaded. There's somebody getting just put in the gulag right now. You probably don't know this meme either, but people are getting gulagged as we speak.
I got that one. I got that one.
Yeah, the
I know what that
gulag.
means.
Chat, can you show her the gulag, the bongo coat? Yeah, so we have a little emote where I don't know if you can see what that looks like, but
No, I haven't.
yeah. So we have that, and it's just a topic that people get really frustrated about, and I understand why they get frustrated. I don't like
Totally.
it. I really don't. It bothers me
I
a
don't like
lot.
it either.
But it seems to the botting issue seems to increase a lot towards
Mhm.
like when a new patch comes out, and I think they're just trying to ramp up production and trying to make as much gold as they can because they know they're trying to farm as much as they can
Yeah,
before a patch comes out.
for sure.
So a few things on this topic. A lot of people have been suggesting that we put some type of authentication in the game, some type of way to make it harder to make an account. I know it's through Steam, but like some 2FA, people think it's going to do something. I don't know a lot like on this topic. You know what I mean? I don't really have a lot of experience with botting in free to play games because I didn't play that many growing up except MapleStory. So a lot of people really want to see, and I personally agree too that I think it is too easy to make an account for anybody to just remake an account to get on the game. Has the team considered that? Is there a reason why we don't have something like that in the game? I don't know if it actually does anything, but I think people,
Yeah. So in terms of like, making accounts, obviously like, and again, most direct comparison, right? So Korea, it's like you have to have your whole identification and stuff. So it's not nearly as much of an issue. Some of the real challenges with a system, I mean, I think you said phone or whatever, but the real challenges here is kind of that like this game is run, more globally for us. So not only are we running in the US, like it's a super simple solution for people to be like, everybody has phones in the US, but some other regions that we operate in, it's not nearly as common, or they don't have certain things. Whatever, it depends in terms of like EU has all sorts of different privacy laws and stuff. So it makes it a lot more challenging to kind of put like a blanket thing over it like that. Again, we want the game to be free to play and accessible. So next week we will be making some changes that we hope will kind of deal with not necessarily making accounts, but like the trusted status system. We're going to make some improvements to that. I There will be some details next week. I'm not going to talk about
sure.
why we think they're going to work because the botters don't need to know, but that we hope will make it more challenging for those folks to, get profits in their things. This will happen. This will probably not be like a switch that's like, hey, it's resolved. Woohoo. It's going to be implemented. We hope it'll make improvements, but it will likely take time for it to kind of ramp up, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Again, I know I'm speaking very broadly, but I don't want to use any language or anything that's like, revealing whatever.
Yeah.
So some of those changes will be coming with the December update next week. And we'll talk a little bit more about them in those patch notes. We're super aware, and I know it's super frustrating. We're trying to mitigate, places where it affects real players too, because like that sucks. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I know it. I know people hate like the things like the 3-day gold hold
I
to
have that on here. I was like, yeah.
yeah, so like I
I
I
hate
get
that,
it.
dude. It's
I
so
know.
annoying because here, I know you don't have any decision on this, but
Oh
here's
no,
why
well,
it's the worst, okay? I personally believe that it makes the issue worse because people see something that they really want to get in the game and they can't
mhm,
get it, and so but they want to get it right
they want to
then,
arm.
and they'll end up going to RMTing it. And I think it's just like even for me, dude, I'm taking all these loan sharks. I have loan sharks of Arcasia. I don't know if you know this. I'm in debt to the loan sharks of Arcasia. Dude, I'm like always borrowing gold and trying to get it.
I
It's
get it.
yeah.
So I get it. This one I can speak to with confidence. So this was a little bit different I mean, tangentially related to the bot issue, right? But that implementation of the gold hold reduced the fraud in the game to like almost zero, which is extremely important. So again, a little bit different impact of the bots, but like, and I get it, it sucks, but like, that's why some of these things kind of become necessary anyway, because again, when you have a game or something, things in the game that are kind of open vectors for fraud, it's not great for your players either, right? Because then a lot of times that comes from stolen Steam accounts or credit cards, and like, you don't want to like open up an avenue for people are like, I can take advantage of that here, like the bad actors. So like it definitely sucks, but overall, sometimes things like that are the right decision for now for the overall health of the game.
Okay.
So
Um,
that one I'm like, I get it, but like
yeah.
it's super necessary.
I think the other one that's very frustrating to people is the 10-second auction house delay. Because when I'm trying to buy like fish, you know,
Mhm.
it's like if you want to buy fish, you're sitting there buying it, and then you're waiting 10 seconds, you're buying it, and then you're waiting 10 seconds. And I'm not sure, I don't know, maybe you don't know what that actually accomplishes. I don't know what that does, but it just makes it super hard to use the auction house comfortably. Like if I want to buy some mats with gold that I may have farmed or whatever, you can't
Mhm.
even buy things quickly. It's like taking a long time to get even what you need because you can only buy in stacks, like of a limited stack.
Right.
And so it takes a long time to navigate the auction house.
Yeah, I mean it's another thing. I think some in a perfect world, and again, it depends on how things go. There's potential for some of these things we've implemented, like if there becomes a solution and this like some of the things like bots and whatnot are no longer issues, or we take hold of it in a different way, or push them out, however that ends up happening. I think there's opportunity for some of these things to be revisited. I'm
Yeah.
sure we're open to that. I know it's super frustrating now too, because right, there are a lot of little things we're doing to try to make an
Yeah.
impact, and there's not like a silver bullet, solution that's just like,
Yeah.
congratulations, they're all gone, right? And I think all these things kind of compound, but as different things are take like put in place depending on the effectiveness, and it's so frustrating, right? Because for everything we do, they're like, now I'm gonna spend all my life working around this.
Yeah.
uh, but if everything we put in place, whatever, if there becomes a time when we have a better handle on it, we have whatever, this thing is working, whatever that may be, maybe there's an opportunity for us to
Yeah, I
remove some
guess
of those
yeah, I
things.
guess
So
it's just
it's
feedback.
definitely like a, yeah, it's like an ongoing, it's like a fighting a living creature. Like, like you're like, I gotta hate, that was a really stupid
No,
metaphor.
it's
Like, I gotta get this piece, and then this piece,
I
and then maybe not this piece.
no, I get your
That was
metaphor
like
though.
not the metaphor. I don't.
No, no, I
Would you
get it
like
though.
to
It's
explain
like
it to me?
it's always actively if you do something then it does something else. I get what you're
I
trying to
think
say.
I
I
was
say dumb metaphors all the time. That wasn't that
I
bad at
think I
all.
was trying to do heads of a hydra, but I said fighting a living
Uh,
creature, which is just bizarre.
Trust me, that's not that bad by my standards.
Okay,
Trust me. Okay,
okay.
I say way worse ones on here. I get roasted all the time, so that's not bad. I guess people. The thing is just that we want to make sure that I'm sure the team is continuously working that these things get revisited if any solutions do come because I think everyone doesn't like the bots for the impact that they have on the game, how it affects the actual player, especially the new players, right? Like the little
Yeah.
Mokoko is like a new player comes in the game. I don't want him to see like GG, KG, GG, like just running past him on a horse. Like It's
No, I
not,
get it.
it's not like what we want them
Oh,
to
we
see.
don't want them there. Yeah.
Um, okay. The last thing I want to clip on this topic, and then we'll move on
Mhm.
to things that I think have helped a lot, is they're saying HH because that's what the bots sometimes type.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
the last thing is I get DMs a lot. Okay, a lot of DMs about like oh like hey Stoopzz, I just want you to know that and I don't know if it's true. I really don't know if it's true. Like hey man, I just got banned for selling like a level 9 gem, or I bought or sold my level 10 gem and I got banned. Um, and I don't know. I don't know if it's true or it's not true, or if the person's just lying to me and then saying that. Is there any info on like getting banned from using the auction house, or like legitimately? I don't know. I don't know. It's so
No, I
weird.
get it. It's hard for me too, right? So like for a long time, I mean, I get probably more messages than
Yeah.
you like that
Yeah,
on a
I'm
daily
sure.
basis, and
I'm sure.
I don't have those tools to like resolve that for those players, so I always have to be like, hey man, I'm sorry. So you should be able to use, I mean, as long as you're using the auction house as intended, make transfers, you will be fine. I think it's very, I'm not gonna say, 100%. There's always something that can go wrong. There's no game with 100% perfect ban success rate forever. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah, it
not a
happens at
thing.
Blizzard all the time.
Um, there's definitely, chances and stuff. But I will say, there was a long period of time when these reports started coming in where people would reach out and be like, "Here's the logs," like really convincing, and I would go to our PX team, the folks that are up above the support, and be like, "Hey, can we look into this? Like, I know we're doing this, but like this one feels different." I probably did over 40 of those. One, and this is just me. This is not the hundreds I deal with a day. One was a false ban, and it didn't even have to do with RMT or auction house stuff. It was like completely unrelated. So every single one they looked into, that people were like, "I swear on my mom's grave," and it was like egregious amounts of gold. And the thing is, and every time I was like, I've been bamboozled again. Then the thing is, like, I get it, and I get why folks are nervous, but like, if a bot farmer, right, the people selling RMT, their goal is to make money. They're not going to accidentally send someone, thousands of dollars worth of gold they would rather sell on RMT. Like, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I'm not saying 100% of the time, whatever. But, I've seen a lot of things, people saying things like that. And I've found more times than not, or almost every single time I've ever looked into
I
it, it
heard
just
that from a
hasn't
lot
been
of
the
people
case.
there. When I was at
Um,
TwitchCon, I was like, yeah, I
yeah.
know.
So there are always things that could happen. I've like, and this isn't here, like even at old games I've worked on, like previous companies, I've also had the like, my son did it, I swear, or like whatever. And like, I'm not gonna say nothing never happens, or like my viewer did it and it's their fault, they RMT'd the gold. And like, I don't know, that could happen, but like oftentimes, you look at the logs and it's like, cool, this was like 3 million gold, or that was just a random number, but it's like, that just
No, dude,
doesn't
there are
happen,
people that are
right?
doing they're like, you'll see some auction house like trend, because that's what they do. So like they post like a tier 1 neck. So if you go to the auction
Yeah.
house, you can go to the auction house and filter, like go to like an old, so tier 1, right? Like the early
Oh yeah.
game, people will sell a neck, like a blue neck. It's like 4 million gold, like 4 million. And so I really do hope, I mean, I know you don't, this isn't your job, right? But I really do hope that the team there knows, like, nobody's buying that for 4 million gold,
Oh,
man.
yeah, we have a BI team. I got a list of items the other day that was like sent over, and they're like, one of our BI folks was like, he plays like crazy too. He was like, there's no reason for any of this to be sold at this amount, right? And it
Yeah.
was all like tier 2, like
Yeah.
gear that was
Gems
just
and
obscene.
accessories.
Yeah. So like, and yeah, we're super aware of it. Again, I'm not gonna say nothing is ever wrong or
No, it
happens, but
happens.
a
I
lot
know.
of the time, I think
Dude, the
People that are like, I
balls to
swear I
buy
didn't
3 million
RMD.
gold. The balls to buy 3 million. That's crazy, man. Like, what?
Just like random. I was kind of a random number, but it has been every time I've ever done that, it has been a staggering amount. Like, and my PX team is lovely. They're like, no, it's not your fault. But I walk away being like, I can't believe I asked them about that. This
Yeah,
person.
man. I get the same thing too. It's
I'm
like,
like, secondhand embarrassed, being like, I'm sorry I even asked.
all right,
But
that's
yeah, and
funny.
I guess just since we're kind of talking about this, I know people are like also very like, oh, the support system is automated. It's not. Um, I know a lot of the initial responses that people get back if they're doing like a ban appeal or something, they're 100% templatized. Yes, so that's why these uh words or messages might look similar to other ones you've maybe seen other people have report or stuff before, but they're not automated, so there's
Somebody
always a
looks at
real
it and then
person
sends up the
looking
template
into it.
afterwards.
And
Yeah.
yeah, depending on what it is, like it will be a template, because nobody's going to sit there all day and be like, I'm going to reword this and type this. It doesn't make sense. But there's I don't think any part of our customer support system is automated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Of course it's templatized. But I don't think people think they're like respond to like this dude's life story, because I've seen some of these I'm not trying to roast anyone, but I've seen these appeal messages like, I love this game. I'm a happy spender. I've supported the game for over a year. Like, what do you want the person to respond to? I know this, but what do you want them to say? Like, I'm so like, what do you just, okay, we looked into your case. I of course they are. I don't know why people think that they're not, but the message that I've got, they make me feel bad.
no, I get it. I do too. And like I said, for a long time, I was like, I'm sorry, other people on this other team. Can you please just look at it? I
Yeah.
swear it's different this
And then
time. But
the
it
guy
just,
buys 5 million
I
gold.
know. I've been bamboozled so many times by those, because I feel it too.
Yeah.
I want to believe like
Yeah.
everyone's good.
Yeah.
But
Me too. Okay, there was a thing that we had in the game though that actually made a big difference, and it was the golden frog, the holy
yes.
golden toad. Everyone praises the golden toad because it's had a huge impact and made the
Yeah.
game way better. So the inflation has been significantly better on NA East, EUC, and I think NA West needs it the most.
Yeah. I mean, it's also helped South America.
Yeah, South America too.
It's like the one down there.
Yeah, South America too. Everyone wants the golden frog to stay. Now, obviously, I don't think it can stay forever, right? Just because if it stays forever, it gives too many mats, too many selectable card packs. But I do think some of these other areas could use it. So with the golden frog, do we have? Is it leaving? Do we know if it's leaving? Are we losing the golden frog?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I do know probably whenever. Yeah, give me a second. No, I was gonna say whenever later today. I do have a report, and that's part of it that I'll be sending over to Smilegate. We were, the teams were open to being like, hey, we want to know how this does. How does it make you feel? That phrasing. Whatever feedback, and we were watching really closely on the economy. We were open to extending it, or if not extending it, having it come back.
Yeah.
It is part of a report I'll be
Yeah.
sending it over today. So I don't know what that decision is yet.
Sure,
But
sure.
like, again, like when people like leave feedback and stuff, there were tons of super helpful threads, super helpful. Obviously, we can compare everything to logs, but seeing what players say are super helpful. So that information will be sent out today. We'll see what happens, and if something happens and it does happen to go away right now, that doesn't mean it's not gonna
Yeah,
come back
dude.
at some
That's what I
point.
was
'Cause
gonna say.
I mean, I think anecdotally, based on what I've seen and experienced. Sorry, I don't
It's
know if you
okay.
can
I
hear
heard
that.
it. It's no big deal.
They're taking the trash out outside. Based off of what I've seen, it looks like it has really helped. And obviously, like you said, we need to make sure it stays balanced and everything.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think the
try to
thing about it is like it's literally a great solution to always keeping the economy, just reintroducing it when it gets out of whack or it starts getting crazy. Because I think a lot of people don't know that Brelshaza, this patch will also help a lot with your inflation. So just because it allows people to hone easier. And then by honing, you're actually burning gold, and that's going to help similar to the frog. So, but the golden frog, I think it'd be super helpful just to reintroduce into the game. And it also makes those books much cheaper for the newer Mokoko players to get into the game and afford the things that that they need, because it makes a lot of builds much cheaper. So any feedback there, that it just makes better new player experience and also helps keep the economy in check. So reintroducing it, I think, at least the potential to do that, I think is great.
Totally.
All right, just a few more, and then I mean, am I keeping you too long?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I people don't realize I'm like, I don't want to say I'm never serious, because I can be. I'm either just like straightforward, or like I make jokes a lot, and I feel like people don't expect me to.
No.
So I felt bad, because as soon as I was like, yeah, as soon as I get out of here, I'll send that report, like, whatever. But like,
Yeah.
no, I'm totally fine. I
Okay.
have this on my calendar. I don't
Okay.
mind. I'm having a great time. So.
No.
But I was like,
I'm
wait,
drilling
now
you with a
I
lot of
feel bad,
questions.
because
No.
I'm like, I'm not
No.
sure if like you realize I'm joking. Totally
No. I just respect your time, and I do this all day. You know what I mean? I sit on this microphone and do it all day, so I'm comfortable. I'm wearing this sweater, and I'm good. Just want to make sure you're good, and
No, I'm
you can
great.
let me know. Okay. All right, this is the one I want the most, okay? This is something I want in the game, Roxx, really bad. So I want you to give it to me right now, okay? Region merges and server transfers, okay? And I know I saw you, because I was looking through the thing a long time ago, and I saw you say that maybe I misread this, but I think I saw it that the tech could potentially be being worked on right now. And well, I'll let you answer that first. Thoughts on region merges and server transfers?
Okay, so I mean, I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
Where we're at, definitely. So we are definitely discussing the possibility of region merges, what that might look like. Again, that tech hasn't been developed, but looking into it, it looks like it's something that may be possible at some point. It's not going to happen like tomorrow. It'll take time, because, I think people know this historically from KR. Our server merges went so smooth.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought
so
it was gonna be
smooth.
dead. Yeah, I thought that was gonna be.
I was ready, dude. I was like around. I was like, we were like in the trash guy's gone. I'm reopening my window.
Yeah.
We were prepared. We were like, okay, what are all our contingencies? Like, can we preemptively like prep anything? And it was so smooth, which was awesome. But that hasn't always been the case with server merges and stuff. I know. So that in mind, there's no permanent like server transfer feature currently in Korea.
Yeah.
I know it's something that was discussed super early on, especially around launch. I don't really know where those conversations ended up. I haven't followed up on a bit, and I think that's because more recently we've been talking a little bit more about region merges, just because that's something that's completely different compared to
Yeah.
other versions, because they all kind of had their one region.
Yeah.
And it's something we're super aware of, trying to figure out what that might look like, what regions go where. I think we all kind of suspect the same ones.
Yeah.
But it's something we have made progress on. Again, like I said, not going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can't even give, like, I'm not even going to give an estimate.
Yeah.
But it's something that's looking more and more feasible and possible. So again, they still have to develop some of the tech, make sure nothing's going to bork and explode and
Yeah.
have a very bad time. But it's yeah, definitely looking
So the
okay,
people on
looking
EU
good so
West
far.
aren't they shouldn't feel completely hopeless about it.
No, I mean, it's definitely, again, I'm not going to be like, yes, it's going to work
Yeah,
and it's
of
going to
course,
be
of
perfect.
course. I
But
get it.
it's absolutely it's not like for a long time, the answer was just like, hey, we don't have the tech. We don't have the resources to
Yeah.
create the tech. And now it's like, okay, here are some ways we could maybe do this. Let's
Yeah.
look into it.
It's good, right? Because
So
like
there's progress, yeah.
the new players get to see more players around them. A lot of people some people are saying they don't like. I saw somebody say keep NA West away from us, but a lot of people don't realize that it makes the market way better. There's more accessories being posted. It makes it cheaper to make a lot of your builds. A lot of people don't know like how important that is, and it's when you separate these regions, the market experience is a lot worse, and that really affects. I wrote a long forum post. I named myself.
I read it.
Did you?
I think I know exactly.
Yeah,
what
I
you're
wrote
talking
this
about.
long post, and I was saying my name was I named myself Nat Pagel, or what was his name? What's that guy's name? I just gave myself a random name.
People like knew it was you.
Yeah, they did.
I remember. I read it.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but
Yeah, I made this long post about it because I really was I live in California and I'm playing on NA East, and so then people called me the destroyer of NA West. That's what they called me before the game came out, because I was saying, "Oh, I'm playing on NA East. You play on NA East." There was this one guy I'll never forget. He got really mad at me and he said, like, you know, you're just being a doomer. But I think it's good for the game to be connected because more players, more market, and then it's just there's so many friends. You know, I have so many friends that play on NA West. I'd love to see them in the game. It'd be so exciting for me. So I'm happy to hear that the conversation is going on and it's not at a place where it's like, oh, we're not looking into
and
it.
I mean that doesn't mean. Again, it's like we'll also have to figure out which makes sense to consolidate. I'm combining words now.
Yeah.
And when, that'll be part of it. Like you said, I think EUS is a very obvious one.
Yeah.
Whenever that time might come, but we have to be limited. At the same time, Europe Central is the biggest region. So what does maybe that mean for Europe Central if it comes time? Like maybe now is not the right time because they have a lot of the bots and the struggles, and I know it's like hard to focus on some of those bad things, right? But it's like, what does it mean for both regions? Like, when is the right time to do this? Like, beyond just the tech. So it's definitely something that needs to be very, I don't know. It's not just like oh yeah, we're merging good. Like, it's something that needs to be looked at from a lot of different angles.
Look at EU, it's so excited. Like, look at them get so excited, man. I actually play on there too. It's fun. They're fun to play with. So, yeah, awesome. All right. Okay, so that was a topic there that I was really excited about. Let's take a little bit more of an easy one, just more chill. Mokoko merch. Okay.
Oh.
The shirts that I still have that thing, man. And I didn't get all
wearing mine.
Yeah, Mokoko merch, Lost Ark merch. I know you guys like have to buy them, I think you said, or something, or I'm not sure how it works, but
yeah.
Can players see that? Like, even if it's like a limited sale or just I don't know how, some kind of giveaways or something to get merch. I think players would love that.
So we can do there's certain like contractual things we have to figure out. I'm not 100% like privy to how it is right now. Again, I didn't go to law school.
Yeah.
So there are certain times like TwitchCon we were able to make this stuff and give it out, and it was really cool. This is my favorite shirt.
Yeah.
Not my size, but I'm still wearing it.
Is that the one with the is that the one with the like the
Yeah,
I didn't get that one, man. Dude. Oh, Bojo was supposed to hold on to it for me, man. And they were so limited, by the way. Like, oh, it's gone, bro. I was like, what? Like,
yeah, this one is too big for me. And I snagged one because I didn't get a black t-shirt, and I'm like, I'm gonna wear that.
Bug, yeah.
But totally lost my train of thought. Yeah, so we can do certain things like that where we can give away. Right now we can't, sell merch like Smilegate Lost Ark merch. It's just not something that we have permission to do. But like we definitely know
players
folks want it. Yeah, so we would love to like figure out how to make that happen, or like make the KR merch is so cute too. I have a lot of it.
You have the thing. Wait, you actually have that behind you. I see the Mokoko. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have the same one.
Yeah.
I have a lot of it. They have these bags that are amazing. I digress.
Damn.
They were very nice to me when I visited.
Dude, you know, a guy messaged me though. Not to cut you off. A guy messaged me saying, "Hey, you can come over. I work at the bottom floor, but I can't let you in the actual building." I was like, "What the hell, man? I can't get the actual building, so you can come to the bottom floor." And I was like, "Oh, I really appreciate that. Maybe next time."
The bottom floor of their building is really nice.
Oh,
yeah, it is pretty cool. They have like coffee and like a garden thing. Like it's a pretty cool building. But yeah, so we definitely know people are interested in that. I think it would be, again, that's kind of like more of a thing we're just not able to do right now, but we would like to make it happen just to make people happy.
Yeah.
If we can.
I think just people love the merch stuff.
But yeah, being able to give away, these shirts and stuff like at TwitchCon, I think that was really cool. People were really stoked on him. So I think if we can have more moments like that too, that's like one way
Yeah.
to
It was like a rare commodity there. Like it was like a rare. It was like super rare. I was like, "Do you have any more mediums?" It was pretty crazy. I think Mod's got some
it's
too.
exciting. Yeah, he
Um,
he got some stuff.
I have Amethyst Store update. So the Amethyst
Mhm.
Store, for a lot of people that don't know, and this is just feedback, it's really cool because it's actually a version of the mileage shop, which in Korea you like buy stuff and then you get free credit towards buying things in the shop. But the Amethyst Store, the feedback from the player base is that it's first of all, it's so expensive to get anything, and I don't think you should be able to buy a bunch of stuff every time like you get 1,000 amethyst crystals, right? But a lot of things are so expensive, and then people want to know if there's plans to add more to it because I don't know if it's been updated. I could be wrong. Am I wrong? Has it been updated? I'm not sure, but
It
um,
definitely doesn't have, everything
yeah,
from the mileage shop. So initially, the Amethyst store, the Amethyst crystals were released to be kind of a replacement for the mileage shop.
yeah,
So a lot of those things were meant to be, challenging overtime stretch items to
right,
get like stretch goals. Definitely have heard a lot. There should be more ways to earn those shards. We I think some of the conversations now is how does this work in our region? Would some other version of a mileage shop make sense? Again, it kind of feeds into monetization and wanting things to feel like you necessarily don't have to just like spend a bunch of money to
yeah,
get certain things.
more Western friendly.
So that's almost similar to like Yaz's jar. That's something else we're kind of like looking at to be like, what makes sense? What else could we be doing here? Which is why there hasn't been too much movement in that like shop um in a little while because we're trying to figure out what feels right and like what's the best kind of option. Um, yeah, that was
Okay,
my whole idea. I don't know
okay,
why I acted like I had more.
got it. Okay, so it's just something that you guys are aware of. Okay.
For sure, yeah, and it's some of these things too. Again, when there's differences across regions and stuff, they like the Yaz's jar. It takes a little bit longer to figure out because again, you're not only changing something for your region, but then it looks different globally, and we want to make sure we're not negatively impacting other regions by having something feel like different or
Yeah.
unfair.
So unsure if it's going to be updated or there's going to be a different thing in the
Well,
future.
I mean, one way or another, there will be some update at some point. I'm just not sure what that
Okay.
will look like. Like, it's not going to stagnate for the rest of forever.
Okay. All right. So there's another one. This one, I guess I lied. There's one more hard one. Uh,
All right.
South America regional pricing. Okay. So I got a
Okay.
letter, this crazy letter. It was like really long. And I always, about like how it's so expensive in South America to buy anything. And they wrote all these posts and, um, on the forums about how like like the blue crystal for them like getting a crystalline aura is the same cost as getting like is like more expensive than like a monthly sub in another game. I think they referenced World of Warcraft. It was saying which is not even close to ours, and they believe that's really responsible for a lot of the blue crystal prices, making it so hard to afford anything because it's out of control because they think it's due to the regional pricing. Now I know you don't work on the regional pricing team. I know you don't do anything with that, but are you aware of it? Does the team know it? And is there any plans to try to address that or look into South America? Because it's going to be so hard for anyone to play when things are so expensive and you need to interact with Fions all of the time and everything.
Yeah, totally. I think I kind of mentioned it earlier. Like, we have seen the Golden Frog help there a lot as
Yeah.
well, which was a good thing. Regional pricing itself is really challenging to do because it becomes something that's very easy to take advantage of just for a variety of reasons. So it's not something that we were particularly like looking into right now. I think that was my latest update on it. That hasn't really changed. But again, I think right now, and I know there's inflation in all sorts of regions and stuff, and I know SA is definitely the most impacted, and we're super aware of that. But having these things like the Golden Frog, whatever, making those impacts is kind of the path we're taking at the moment.
Okay. So looking to cut down inflation there through other means.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
Okay.
and I know that one's particularly challenging, like just in terms of where the region's based and economy and, like you said, regional pricing and all sorts of factors. But unfortunately, like, just introducing regional pricing could introduce a lot more issues than it could potentially
Okay.
help. So it's just something,
So
from my understanding, we're
we
just
just give them a
not quite
permanent
doing right
toad.
now.
Just give them the permanent toad.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, got it. People always say that. Just let them have the permanent toad. All right, so that was a lot of the more tricky ones. I wanted to talk a little bit about marketing. So marketing in Lost Ark, I think the trailers have improved so much, and we talked about that a little bit. I think the pacing of the patches have improved, like the communication surrounding the patches, I should say. One thing that a lot of people feel though is that when an event's going on, we don't really get like the trailers breaking down the Hyper Express, where in other regions you kind of get that. And it's not that we as a player base don't understand how it works, but we're worried about the new player experience or someone that took a break doesn't really know how this works, or how effective it really is, or how helpful it is, or how big of an event it really is.
Yeah.
And so we're worried that sometimes these things kind of slide under the radar, and it's kind of like, hey, like the trailer might show like, Pet Ranch when it could show like Hyper Express, and we think that's more appealing to the general player base, or people that may want to get into the game.
Yeah, I think it's challenging. I mean, I'm not necessarily a marketer, so this is going to be colored by like my own flavor.
Sure.
What the fuck am I saying? Sorry. Anyway, my words are getting all jumbled, so I apologize.
No, it's fine. I can't even speak English or read, by the way, so you don't have to feel bad at all. They are so used to this.
I don't feel bad, but I looked over at chat and I'm cracking up now. Anyway, so when it comes to trailers and stuff, it's very challenging to showcase things like Hyper Express events. And you're totally right. These are things that are very helpful for like newer players or getting players caught up. I think that's why we like to do different kind of maybe marketing or communication, if you would call it that, but things like the Lost Ark Academy that have a little bit more, I know reading and video format are two very different things, but have a little bit more explainers there. But when you're doing, you have, however, whatever your like 2-minute trailer is or whatever, it's very hard to like visually be like, here's this event that you're like clicking through, and there are totally ways to do it. Again, I'm not a marketer, so I won't be the most creative about it. But I think there are definitely probably more ways we could get creative with like doing that. We have used, it's funny, I constantly see people being like, I never see ads for Lost Ark, and it's like, we do targeted advertising. I'm like, you're probably not seeing it because you're already playing the game. Because it is targeted, right? So we have used things like the Hyper Express event and stuff and pointed towards them in some of that targeted kind of marketing, to either like whether it's targeted at like getting players back or like in the game, or letting them know to advance. So it does exist in some places, but like, maybe that's something we could find more creative ways to do for sure.
I saw somebody said we want live stream for updates. We kind of talked about that. So maybe this is something that potentially the newer guy that you guys are bringing on maybe could look into doing.
I think that will more likely be video. Well, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. I'm just gonna spit out metaphors all day now.
Yeah, that's
where I'm at. I think a lot of that will more likely be video content, maybe opposed to live stream. But like, I think there's definitely room for us to talk about things like that. I would hope so. Depending on how that show kind of ends up looking and feeling, I think that seems like a space that might make sense. But just more ways to get creative with that. I definitely hear you.
So the last like major topic is, I wanted to link these together, was the new player experience. So this is something that's super important to me. I think the new player experience is everything in a game. It absolutely, I feel like it's like the lifeblood of the game, right? Because if the new player experience isn't good, then you're just going to have a player base where it doesn't actually necessarily grow too much. And that's fine. You can have a more enthusiast community, but I always want the newer person to come onto the game and feel like they can have a good experience too. And I really believe there's been some great changes for the new player experience. Like we've made a lot of alterations, got a lot of systems into the game much earlier than other regions. We offer a South Fern paid power pass, which for some people is a great alternative to just getting into the game right away at a decent piece of content. We have, I think it's like the Procons, like, I don't know what that is, like Procons, like buff or something like
Yeah,
that.
the new
Mokoko
raid
buff
buffs.
kind of
Yeah.
thing that the Mokoko buff extends. We've made some honing changes to really, that's way out of pace with the other regions. Like in comparison, I didn't think we were gonna get any of those things now, and we did. And I'm like, wow, this is like the best patch ever. And a lot of people felt the same way. There's two things that I think though are very difficult for newer players, and this is just maybe feedback. Again, some of them you can't change, some of them maybe you can comment on, but some of them I think would be great feedback. The least or maybe Smilegate or whatever, anyone on the team. Fions for them are, and I know you hear this all the time, remove fions. Okay, I know, like, and I know that's not a decision, but I think on like the lower items, like these purple items that make no sense to have fions on them, absolutely not. Like they're selling for 1 gold, right? Like these purple items, these like low tiered stones that nobody interacts with, they still have fions, and the only people that are going to interact with those are the, like the little
They're new
baby,
players.
the new
Yeah.
players, right? So, and no one's even buying them, right? So they're just dead items in the water, but the new player has to deal with that. And I know a lot of people in the community don't like fions, and they're gonna riled up. They want me to, talk about it. But for those players in particular, it's significantly more difficult to overcome.
Yeah, definitely. See, and like, I'm gonna like, I'm not trying to change the subject, but I
Sure,
think it's something I just wanted to call out is like,
sure,
I really appreciate a lot of times, like that feedback is super awesome, and I totally hear you, and it makes sense. Like a lot of times, and like, feel free to leave feedback with whatever you believe. Like, I
yeah,
don't want to stop that, but like, being like, hey, okay, what about new players? What about low tier items versus just like remove fions,
yeah,
period. A lot of times, like, I don't know, I just super appreciate
yeah,
I'm not phrasing this well. I just super like appreciate that because it's like, sometimes it feels like there may be an obvious answer, but it's like, let's really like look at the bigger impacts here. Why do you feel that way? I think I'm like on a tangent a little bit here, but like in one of the early games I worked on, my favorite example was always like, we want mounts. And it was like, no, you don't. You just want fast travel.
yeah,
So like having those things and really breaking out, like obviously fions are a hot thing because it's like they're expensive. Okay, I get that. You just don't want them in the game, but like really taking time to like break out. Um, just like adding as much as
yeah,
you can or whatever whenever you leave feedback is like super appreciated because it's
yeah.
great to just get different views. All that aside, yeah, no, definitely. Sorry, I had to
No, it
soapbox a
makes me
little bit
happy that
just
you said
because
it. Makes me
I
feel.
really
Makes no,
appreciated
it
it.
makes me happy. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely hear you. Fion feedback has definitely like been delivered and stuff, and we definitely know there's challenges with new players and stuff. I think some of it is challenging because there are some things, like you said, we have added things like, the Mokoko buff, different buffs, new player, whatever features to kind of help with that. There are some systems that are kind of global and they are kind of just what they are that we can't always impact. Um, so where we can, we definitely like to try to improve that new player experience at the same time. And this is totally different than, you know, the lost my train of thought. The like in-game changes, but as well
Yeah.
as we're like, what can we do? Like we just I don't know if you saw it, but we just had Canon like make a new
Yeah,
player
I thought it was so
guide video.
cute.
And like
Yeah,
I wish
yeah.
that would have come out like a long time ago, of course. But at this point, it's like what other things can we do to like kind of help people on that journey? So it's definitely something we're always aware of. Like the answer might not just be like, oh, we're doing this one thing, but like there's lots of different pieces that we want to improve the new player experience. And then like you said earlier, of course bots are an issue too, so like hopefully ideally that issue subsides because I know it's been, trust me, I know it's been super rough, right? That would be like a really good moment to like bring in new players, have all
Yeah.
this new stuff because it is hard, right, when you're a new player and there's bots and
I mean,
all sorts of things.
every
We
free to
get
play
it.
game is gonna have bots. I just think
Oh,
that
for sure,
they're
but,
not they're not gonna
we've
go
we've
away.
been in
And
a, yeah, I mean, that is very true, but also, it is a real problem. So
Well, I mean, there's a monetary oh, see now, what is it? Oh no, no, chat. I don't know. Monetary incentive. Oh my goodness, monetary incentive for them to do it, and they're gonna do whatever they can to make money off of off the game if they can. Right? It's how they make their money. So they're not gonna. You're having fun reading them, making fun of me right now, aren't you? Know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But. So yeah, there's a monetary incentive for them to do it, so they're gonna keep doing it. But I think if we can make better steps to get rid of that. The other thing that I think maybe something that Amazon could do, I don't know how they could go about it, or some kind of creative work, would be some type of, maybe it doesn't have to be directly in the game, so that's how you can go around it. I don't know. Some type of mentor system in the game would be so good, okay? Because
Yeah.
I'm sitting here doing these little Mokoko raids, that mods does them. And the problem is there's two things, right? It's hard to overcome the gold or the Fion cost for a new player. And then the gatekeeping, because people are in these Corpa modes. You can chat can type Corpa if you want to see it. Corpa is like this business mentality where they just have to farm the raids and make gold. And from what I've seen and what I've done on my feedback from YouTube videos and things like that, is people love the game. They have a blast, but when they try to get into these raids, and you guys have done a great job, or at least implementing the patches where they get buffed up and stronger, it's people don't want to spend time to teach them. But other games like Final Fantasy have these like mentor systems where they can reward people for like spending more time with these newer players.
Hmm.
I don't know if it can be a web-based browser thing through the website, or it's feedback you can provide to Smilegate or the team, but I think that would do wonders for newer players in the game.
Yeah. No, I mean, like you said, it's definitely more of like a game dev implementation ask, but I think
Yeah.
that's super awesome. We've kind of been brainstorming, because obviously it's easier for us to do stuff outside of the game as publishers.
Yeah.
If there was some sort of program that could maybe be possible to do like outside of the game,
Right.
plenty of people communicate in like all these community spaces and whatever. Um, so it's definitely something we're kind of aware of and like interested in doing in some way or another.
Yeah. We're I guess this would be a good place to announce it. I'm working on doing a talking to a few people about doing a Mokoko Discord where we're gonna have some like helpers that have roles that are
Mhm.
interested in doing it. And so if there's any helpers, you can go to my Discord and ask to participate. And we'll talk about all this logistics, but we're trying to set up a little Discord where people can come in. There's helpers and maybe people
I
that have
love
free
that.
time that would like to do some teaching raids and things like that. It's something that I really care about because I think it's so important for the game in general. And it's not just a R version issue, it's also in every other version of the game. And any MMO,
Yeah.
by the way. Literally not just a Lost Ark problem. I've been making videos on gatekeeping and people not being patient in MMOs for years in other games too. It's been something I've always done. And so I just think
Yeah.
it's so important. It's what makes MMORPGs MMORPGs, right? It's not the game
Right.
systems, it's how you interact with the people
But
in the
yeah,
game.
it's in the title, the massively
Yeah.
multiplayer. No, for sure. And I love that. I love that y'all are starting like a Discord too. I think a lot of the really cool stuff about Lost Ark is like, I don't know, the community. I just like say earlier, yeah, very passionate, right? But like that's a good thing. There's all sorts of like things that emerge. Like you're like, I care about this, so I'm gonna start this, or like just all sorts of the amount of crazy knowledge, or people that just want to help new players, or like, I mean, even in the Canon video, it was like, oh, like here's how you can maybe find a helper group like in game. Like that's pretty
Yeah.
cool, and I think you're right. Like it's important to elevate those things.
It's a community thing too. It's just like everyone's also got to try to be better. And I think, at least in my community, I've been seeing it a lot more people. I'm starting this thing called like Mokoko Mondays where you can send in like your interactions with Mokokos and I'll give out some gift
Mhm.
cards. I don't know. I'm just trying to do whatever I can to make it a little bit better for people because I don't know, man. It sucks. The little guy comes into the game, trying to have a good time. He sees some cool trailer and then, people they kick him out of the group. Like I feel bad for the little man. I was talking about those little jokes, so I don't want to see that happen. Okay, two more quick things, and then we can wrap it up. Or any things or any questions you might have, or whatever. Get some food if you want, or just get back to your life. Um, some people really wanted me to ask about Ester Weapons. I don't know if you have any info on that. If there's any conversation there, people are really worried about this. But then some people
Yes.
like it because you can actually sell these stones that you farm in the game to make gold. Any info on that or how that's gonna?
I think likely kind of how we touched on Yaz's jar earlier, and like what that expense looks like. Um, those things are still in conversation. I think that conversation is tied to that one that's ongoing.
Okay.
Just because it's, a very heavily monetized system. It can be a very expensive system. It has its perks, it has its drawbacks, maybe to an extreme amount there.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely related to that ongoing conversation. So I
Cool.
don't have an answer as to how
No,
that
I
would
think that
be
you're thinking about it or
talked
aware
about
of
now. But oh yeah,
people
we're
like that.
definitely thinking about it early, and we're like, okay, we know these things are kind of in a similar bubble, right?
Yeah.
We haven't figured out what that will look like yet, but there are
Dude, I just
conversations.
want to say something. A lot of Gia. Sorry, that's my dog. Gia always be going crazy in the middle of this thing, man. She's always barking at the door. We have a Gia in my chat. She's always crazy. Anyway, so the that was funny. A lot of people have this idea that like someone came in my chat yesterday, like there have been radio silent on all of the DC things. And I was like, what do you mean, man? Like I literally I opened up the forums and I showed like all of the responses to the, like they're not saying anything. So I think sometimes, it's like, oh, you don't have an answer to give right now. And I totally get that. But I think even just saying like, oh yeah, we're aware of Ester Weapons or whatever's going on, people are like, oh, at least they're aware of it. And I think some people really assume that you guys don't know about some of the
Oh
things
yeah.
that are going on in the game. And I learned a lot about that from talking to you guys at the dinners and things like that. So
Yeah, it is. I hear you. If they come up and there's opportunity, I don't always just like bring things up. Um, I will say it is a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes because like sometimes people are more frustrated with being like, well, that's not really information, right? It's like
yeah,
I think I run into a lot where, and especially even like the DC issues, like I have to wait for updates and stuff while they're being worked through, like, and then it's like, oh, there is no update, and I'm like, that's just not the answer you want to hear. And I understand
yeah.
it's like it's frustrating to wait, but like we're waiting with you, so like I definitely when these things come up, I don't mind answering them, but sometimes it's hard to be like, here's this thing, we don't have an answer yet, but we know about it, right? So it's definitely like a little bit of a
Yeah.
balancing act there, but yeah, I get it. I'm always open to talking about whatever I can in advance as long as it's like a
It's so
something I can talk about, something I
it's
can
so
answer.
interesting though, because you don't want to like people they want an answer, but then you don't want to because then if you get it's like I remember one of my friends that worked on a game, I won't say which, whatever, and then he's doing his own game studio. We're eating lunch, and he was talking about how like you don't want to promise players anything because if you do, it's like, well, you promised me this, and then sometimes if you do promise something, then it won't even live up to what like they thought it was going to be, right? So it's like you want to
Yeah.
under promise, over deliver, but even in the cases that you're not even promising anything, they're expecting more anyway, right? So you're always in this like difficult place of where players expecting like an answer or a better solution that you're providing, and if you say, hey, we're working on something, it's like, well, that wasn't that's your solution, right? So it's always so difficult to. I
Yeah, for sure.
understand,
It's a fine balance. And then too, like we were talking about earlier with the challenges of like this game having like a different audience or different
Yeah.
version, different whatever in other regions too, it all kind of plays into it because it's like, yeah, some things will come to our version as is. Some things might look different. Some things are still being worked on. And there's not always like an immediate answer. And then, you don't want to be in the trap of being like, thanks for the feedback, we're aware, but sometimes, at a point that's really all we got because like you said, we don't want to be like, well, here's all the different discussions we're having, and then the one they really like doesn't happen for whatever reason. There's always more reasons. I don't know. I'm totally
Oh yeah.
talking about
No, you're
a
good.
rhetorical situation here. And then people are like, well, why not this? Or, you just don't want to be caught because it's like sometimes you have to go through the process. You're like, oh, this could be a really good idea. And then you look into it and it's not feasible, not
Yeah.
whatever. So definitely trying to make sure, when we can share things, people are very like when I talk about region transfer or
Region
region
merges.
merges. Region transfers. Oh, region merges.
Don't say
um,
that. Don't say region
I know.
transfers. Yeah.
Yeah, I just screwed myself with that flub. No, region trans. Damn it. Region merges. I'm sorry. My flight was very late last night. Region merges. Jesus. um being very much like, hey, yes, it may be possible. People are gonna 6 months from now, whenever, people are gonna be like, Roxanne promised these were happening. Like, it just kind of is what it
No, I
is. That's why I
understand.
try to be as
Yeah.
explicit as possible,
Yeah.
to be like, hey, like, I know we know you always want to do that. I always want to do that whenever I can, but like, you got to make sure you're trying to be as clear as possible, because that will always happen.
Okay. They're just spamming Mokoko emotes. I'm assuming. I mean, like,
It's
I don't.
better than spamming what I just accidentally
Yeah.
said,
Mokoko
which is
emotes.
not a real thing.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna get those Mokoko emotes. I'm not saying it for her, but I could. You guys, what do you think? You don't think they're gonna give you those? Like they give, like you guys get all the horizontal, like random. You guys get all the
We're not having
poses.
another.
Or-
No,
you-
I'm just kidding.
yeah, don't say you're never gonna. You guys have the
See, this is-
poses. Why would you think you're not gonna get like newer Mokoko? No, they won't. Okay, well, Mr. Doomer here.
we'll
I
get
mean,
them.
yeah, we'll get
They'll
them
show up.
right. Yeah. All right. Well, one thing that people do want to know is this game is almost 1 year old.
It is.
And in the roadmap, we would assume we'd see something about an anniversary. It's almost a 1 year old baby in the West.
I
So
know. It's
people,
weird.
yeah, it feels so weird that the game's almost been out. It's going to be a year in February. And I'm assuming the roadmap will go through February if we're going
sure.
based on like the 3 to 4, we don't know yet, but 3 to 4 months.
Mhm.
Anniversary skins. There's such a big thing for Lost Ark, and we got the first year anniversary skins, and they were suits. They were suits again. So the thing about people's concerns about anniversary skins is that we're kind of years behind some of the other anniversary skins,
Mhm.
and we're so worried. And I know you don't have a decision on this. We're so worried that we're waiting 4 years to get some of the 3 year anniversary skins. We did get them out of order in the last one. So do we have any idea of anniversary skins or any, like, will that be in the roadmap maybe, or?
Uh, I'll see. I have a little bit of an idea. I'm not gonna say anything because I don't know
Yeah.
if those are finalized. But I will see if that's something maybe we can get in the roadmap.
Okay.
Because that makes a lot of sense. I know those skins. I know players love their skins very much so. The anniversary ones, some of them are really sick too.
Yeah.
So we'll see. If I've seen on paper what's been proposed. Again, same thing. I don't want to talk about what that might look like because it's not. We don't have the product file, right?
Okay.
But I'll see, because you're right, that is like a big part of anniversary content and stuff. We'll
That's
see
the
if we
biggest
can get
part for
it
so many
for the
people.
for the roadmap, and
Yeah.
see if we're able to share what that might look like so people know what to expect.
Yeah, that's
Is
perfect.
that a good? Okay.
That's a good answer.
I was
Yeah.
like,
So we know,
is that
I
a
want
good
to know.
intermediate? Because
That
it's
makes
like,
the
I don't
road.
want to say anything now, but
That's big, bro. That's big marketing. People are like, all right, now I want to know if we get it in the roadmap, and then if it's in there, we get an idea of the skins, because the anniversary skins are so important for so many people in Lost Ark, because the second year isn't suits, and the third year is suits and some other stuff. So we'll
yeah, I don't 100% know that it'll be locked quite yet, because like I
sure,
said, we are trying to get that roadmap out ahead of time.
sure,
But like we'll float it and we'll see if it's
sure.
something we can make happen.
All right. I think I asked you everything I had. I feel like I just bombarded you with questions.
No, it was good. Thank you for letting me
Um,
yeah, it was a conversation. I don't feel like I've definitely like rapid fired questions before, and it didn't feel
You
like
sure that
that.
wasn't
So
rapid fire? I felt
no,
like I
it's
was.
good.
I felt like for a while I was like, okay.
No,
I think I was
it's
hitting you
good.
with a lot of questions. Okay, so anything, I mean, like I don't expect you to have anything, but anything that you feel like you didn't get to say or wanted to talk about, or anything that you wanted to ask me, or
I think I had notes for myself, and I think I talked about them just while we were talking. But like, just because I don't want people to think like, oh, she didn't have anything. The two things I just thought, that were worth mentioning. And again, I talked about these already, but just like importance of player reports and like feedback, because I touched on it earlier, but I was like, I know a lot of people get frustrated when they're like, why do I have to leave you this report? Like, why am I helping with this? Or like your feedback is just like, I don't like this thing, right? But like, especially as we've gone through these DC issues again, super frustrating. I get it. The last thing you want to do is go be helpful. You just want to play the game, right? But like we've had so many instances where just like we've seen specific players with specific, I don't know, they have weirdnesses on their end, and like some of these folks have been really kind. Like I've reached out to people in the forums through DMs before and be like, "Hey, can you try this really weird thing? I'm so sorry," but that have legitimately like helped us solve like issues and help troubleshoot much faster than we might be able to on our own. So like it's super super appreciated. And then alongside that with feedback, just being as like clear as you can about your thoughts, because like we know you hate some things. Like I know. I hear it
Yeah.
all the time. I wake up in the middle of the night and I have Twitter notifications that are like, okay, that's spicy. Like we get it, but the more time like someone sits down to like write out feedback and like really let us know, like, okay, you hate it, like why do you hate it? Sometimes it's very obvious, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
But it's always super super helpful. And I know it doesn't feel like it because obviously not every piece of feedback, everything will lead to a change, not everything's going to be solved overnight, but like I've seen a lot of folks, especially with the DC issues and the mega threads. For a while it was super helpful. Now people are getting more frustrated. I know it's been going on for a long time. um but when people do take time to like reach out and be like, here's what's happening, it's just super helpful.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, and again, I kind of talked about that earlier, but just like say I appreciated that and then like encourage it as well. Um, just because I think that's something that's
Yeah.
been very helpful.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really, I'm totally, it helps me too. So I guess I'm just like shilling for myself a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, 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 no.
Help me help you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
also it just helps me.
We brainstorm a lot of like things in the game or problems that we see, and what's the best way about going about providing feedback and being more specific on like what you're experiencing rather than like what your experience is like rather than like the solution to the experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
and I think that's part of it too. Like, I mean, I've seen players come up with great ideas for stuff, don't get me wrong, but and again, I said this earlier, but it's literally my favorite story. The like, we want mounts, and it's like, no, you want fast travel.
yeah,
There's also many times in any game dev, I've worked for all sorts of different companies. I've seen stuff like that all over the place, and I think anyone in the games industry
yeah,
maybe
it
has.
happens all the
So
time.
like, and I mean, I'm not saying don't propose solutions. Like, absolutely, if you think you have an idea or whatever, feel free. Like, I love reading those too. But sometimes the most like effective thing is like really breaking out that feedback and getting into the root of why, other than kind of rushing to the end. But I mean, again, I'm not saying don't do that, but what it is more helpful for us sometimes.
Oh, I have one last thing. Sorry, I feel
Okay.
bad if I didn't ask you.
No, I don't mind.
Is there like if we want to do like community events that doesn't have to be like is that something that we can work with Amazon on, just community related stuff, like if they're approved? Is that like a thing Amazon has the ability to do or no?
What kind of
There's one I really want to do and I feel like it would be so fun. I feel like I feel like there is a lot of people in this game, they really care about it, but they don't. It's okay, a 1v1 Lost Ark tournament. I feel like that would be so fun. Like, do you remember the G4 one? That
Yeah.
was so entertaining because it had, and I know some people are working on something like this, but they had like Saint versus so and so versus so and so
Mm.
versus, not like something super competitive, but something really really fun. And like I saw somebody working on it, and there's a lot of people that love PvP and Lost Ark, and some people that really hate it. But I think having the community come together on that would be really fun, and I think people would love to watch that just for fun.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
I think it'd be great, and I had an idea of doing like some kind of fundraiser, but I'm not pitching it here. I was thinking, is there the ability to do something like that? Because I thought that was the most entertaining thing ever, was seeing like people in the community do stuff, and I think that's so healthy for the game.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I would definitely like to do more just like community engagement kind of events and opportunities. Um, I I think it's more plausible next year, maybe. Well,
Sure.
we'll have to see what those like resources look like what we have on our side, resources and stuff to make something like that happen, of course. But like we've been running so hard, we've had a
Yeah,
lot
I get it. I'm
of
just curious
business
if
issues
there's
and
a,
updates.
yeah.
But I would like to so no, like truthfully, like I haven't had a whole lot of time to look into those types of things, even though I've maybe really wanted to, just because I've been doing about a
Yeah.
million other things. So definitely open to exploring and figuring out like what we can do. And our now I'm just kind of talking to you, but I know some of our guys on the creator team, I think they would also be very
Yeah, I'll reach
trying to
out to
figure
them
that out
and
too.
just other
Yeah.
things like other like
No, I get it.
community raids or
Because
that.
that's what's so much fun. Like, I love stuff like that. Like I was talking about, like, I love community management. I love going to TwitchCon. It's a very similar feeling, just like in
Yeah,
game. So I definitely love stuff like that, and I would
yeah.
love to see it happen.
Some people in chat were saying PvP in a PvE game. You are lying if you don't think if you wouldn't want to see Saint versus Dat mods. I mean, that would be the most entertaining thing ever to see Saint versus Dat mods or me versus Saint. It would be hilarious. No matter what it is, it would just be so fun to watch. Like people would, they say what they would all watch. I know what they watch because that's my job, to find out what people would want to watch. That would be hilarious. It would.
I think it would be
So
super fun.
Saint would win. I mean, he probably would win, but it would still be entertaining. Okay, listen. Thank you so much, chat. Can you give Roxx a huge round of applause for doing this? I asked her a bajillion questions over 2 hours and 13 minutes, which is pretty long, shorter than most of the podcasts, which I'm happy about because usually they go on for like 3 hours. Thank you so much for coming on. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. I know we tried doing this before in the past, and I really appreciate you following up and trying to do it again. It
Yeah,
means a
for
lot
sure.
to the community to like just get to see you. I think the last time I remember watching you do one was with DJ Montague, I think.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
And yeah, I definitely no, thank you for having me and like asking again because I know last time it couldn't happen for whatever reason. It's sometimes challenging to like make time and stuff, but I always like really want to if I can. Like I love doing stuff like this. Um Being out there just like talking to the community, and in a different way that I don't normally get to.
Yeah.
So it's really nice for me too because this even counts as some of the stuff like I just love doing for my job. So thank you as
Yeah.
well.
No, we love having you, and maybe we can chat again in the future if there's anything
Yeah.
relevant to talk about. Excited to see the roadmap, and yeah, thanks again. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right,
Thanks.
say bye to the YouTube Frogs chat. I'm just gonna put bye. Goodbye, chat.